Today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku had Deadpool-like powers? Movie. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Deadpool-Level Regeneration by Haunterdino. On a highway made up of bridges, you can see a guy in a green and black suit sitting on the railing, drawing and listening to music. Deku-Page, hello. I know you're probably wondering what I'm doing here and why I'm not at the prestigious UA. Well, it's simple. Darth Vader sent me here to a world without superpowers. But you might be wondering what I'm doing here. Well, I'm following my second dream, being a mercenary, he said, or watching them. At that moment, some black vans and motorcycles approached where he was sitting. Deku-Page, okay, time to work, he said, to get up and jump to fall. Well, we'll skip the filler because it's the same as the Deadpool movie, but without killing them. At the end, after finishing off the guy on the motorcycle, he searched his body for a memory. When he got it, he heard police sirens, so doing the most normal thing, he jumped again to land on the back of a truck. Deku-Page, what a good life. After the bus ride, he arrived at an abandoned warehouse where FBI agents were waiting for him. He handed over the memory card, and they gave him a briefcase containing 5 million yen. Deku-Page, it's been a pleasure being business agents, he said, before leaving. After that, he left the place until night fell, when he arrived at a pretty nice house without his mask. Izuku, you might be wondering where I've been living. Well, it's simple. A family adopted me after about 3 months of being here. My dad, well, that's not new because I never met him, she said, crying. It's Isanari Uesugi, who had 2 children, Futaro Uesugi, whom I call the fruit, and my little sister Reiha Uesugi, who is very adorable. He said he wanted to go inside the house to see his family having dinner. Izuku, I returned, she said with a smile. Reiha Oni-chan, he said happily, ready to hug him. Izuku, how have you been returning the hug? Reiha, very good, he said, before sitting down again to eat. Futaro, how have you been, Izuku? Izuku, good brother, he said, bumping fists with the Isanari. How have you been, son? You've been away for a week. Izuku, well, I was late because the band wasn't moving. Fuetru, and this time how much was it? Izuku, 5 large, he said, placing the briefcase on the table to give one to each member of the family. Sign up, thank you, son, but you shouldn't. Izuku, it's the least I can do. They gave me a roof over my head without hardly knowing me, he said with a smile, but then Futaro returned the money. Izuku. Futaro, thanks Izuku, but I have to fend for myself, he said seriously. Izuku, safe. Futaro, and Izuku, but don't you have a job? Futaro, I'll manage, he said, picking up his plate and going to his room. Reiha Oni-chan. Izuku. Leave it, it'll be fine. I think, well, if they need me, they know where to find me. He said he was walking to his room with the rest of the money. He sat down in his chair, which had a keyboard on the side, and began to enter a code to make it move. Seeing that there was a hatch underneath it, he opened it to go down to another room, where he had an arsenal of weapons, as well as several of his suits and cameras that viewed the exterior and interior of his house. Then he opened a safe containing 28 million yen that he had been saving in the 2 years he had been there, plus another 3 million yen, making 31 million, and then he closed his safe. The next day, during break, the 2 brothers were standing in line. Futaro, a meatless barbecue menu, he told the cook. Izuku, why is he asking for that? He thought, waiting for his brother. While he brought his food, it was delivered and he went ahead. If he has money from what I've given him, why is he struggling? He thought about how to get water from the coffee machine. Well, what can you do? She said. She was walking to her usual table, which was for 4 people. She was about to put her bag, which contained her food, down there, but it bumped into a tray. Then I turned around to see a girl with orange-red hair, star-shaped hair accessories, and dark blue eyes. I arrived first. This seat is empty, so please go there. Izuku pointed to another table and was about to leave, but then Futaro arrived. Futaro, we haven't been sitting here every day. If anyone has to move, it's you. That has nothing to do with it. Whoever arrives first gets the job, he said, arguing with Futaro. Futaro, okay, I'll sit first, so that's my spot, he said, sitting down. Izuku, if you'd like, you can join us, miss, as the table seats 4. she said with a nervous smile, noticing her brother's disapproving look at her. The girl then took a seat. Thank you, thanking Izuku. Then several students started making comments about the brothers, making the girl nervous and blushing while Futaro ate. Izuku, ignore him, he said with a smile, let's eat itadakimasu instead. She said, taking a hamburger and some fries and a soda out of her bag, surprising Futaro with how expensive her meal was. Then he looked at the girl's meal and saw that it cost 1,000 yen, about $10, while he studied. Itadakimasu. It's rude to study while eating, he told Futaro while Izuku enjoyed his hamburger. Futaro, what? I'm honoring Ninomiya Kinjiro who studied while working. Why are you angry with me? That's completely different. Futaro, I'm studying for the exam, stop bothering me. You're desperate. What grade did you get? She said, snatching his exam. Futaro, don't look. I'm Uesugi Futaro-kun, your note is. He said, reading the exam 100 points. Futaro, oh my god, how embarrassing, Dhe said, covering his face with one hand. You did them on purpose, didn't you? She said, annoyed. Futaro, I don't know what you're talking about, he said, continuing to eat. Grr, I hate to admit it, but I'm jealous because I'm not very good at my studies. Oh, right. Joining their hands, I just thought of something good, we're tablemates now, right? Please show me, she said with a smile. Futaro, thank you for the food, he said as he left the table. Hey, you eat really fast, is that okay? Do you want me to share some with you? Futaro, I'm full, move aside, you ordered too much, you know, it'll make you fat. Gorda. While this was happening, Izuku was lost in his thoughts. Izuku, I could make a pentaki with a pencil, we would have won if Adam faced Shiva. That and more was what Izuku was thinking about. Just then, Futaro's phone rang. This is the first time I've met someone as insensitive as you. I'm not going to give you anything, she said angrily as she sat back down and Futaro left. Then she noticed Izuku. You're going to offend me too. And Izuku food. Izuku that where he said that he had been pulled from his thoughts and then he saw that his brother was no longer there. He's already gone. And he said angrily, Izuku, now what stupid thing did she do? He said, looking at the girl. She told me I was going to gain weight, she said angrily. Izuku solo sigh, he's not very sociable, especially with girls, and besides, you're pretty. He said, taking another hamburger out of the bag, while the girl watched. You like, he said, offering her the hamburger. The girl just took a bite, blushing. This is good, Izuku, and it is. Itsuki Nakano. Izuku un gusto Izuku uesugi puro solo dime Izuku, she said with a smile. Itsuki, you're his brother. She said incredulously. Izuku, good, adopted. Itsuki, well, that explains a lot. How are you doing in your exams, or are you just like him? Izuku, tell me, he said, handing him his exam. Itsuki, let's see, he said, grabbing it, this 85 points. Izuku, it went well for me, he said as he continued eating. Itsuki, hey Izuku-kun, can I ask you a favor? Izuku, it depends. Itsuki, if you help me with my studies. Izuku thought about it for a few moments. Izuku, okay, but I'm not promising anything. They continued talking for the remainder of their break. When they finished eating, Izuku offered to show her around the school. When the bell rang, he said goodbye and went to his classroom, sitting next to Futaro, who just stared at him blankly. Futaro, that, Izuku, I expect nothing from you, and yet you still disappoint me. Futaro, what did I do now? Well, putting that aside, I got a job tutoring a girl named Nakano. Izuku, that guy is already dead, they just haven't told him yet, I sing mentally. At that moment their teacher came in to tell them that they would have a new classmate. At that moment, a girl known to the protagonist stepped forward. Itsuki, my name is Itsuki Nakano, it's a pleasure to meet you. He became the talk of the classroom, while Futaro was shocked to see who he was supposed to be teaching. Then the teacher told him to sit behind Izuku. Futaro, hello, but he was ignored by Itsuki, who walked right past him. Izuku, night time, she said with a smile. Itsuki, hello Izuku-kun, she said with a smile, thus beginning to speak. Futaro was impressed by how well they got along. A few days passed where Futaro asked Izuku for help, but Izuku told him he had to rely on himself, making Futaro angry. But he was right. Now Izuku was sitting waiting for his brother, lost in thought. While he ate, his brother was talking to a girl. After that, he went to sit where he had been thinking, and a girl was watching him. But Izuku, well, he's Izuku, and he didn't notice until the bell rang for PE. They went to the locker room to change, where Izuku took off his shirt and saw an orange-haired girl watching them. "Izuku Futaro, your girlfriend is talking to you," she said, pointing at the redhead, because she saw them very close together. "Futaro Mike," he said, looking at the orange-haired girl who was watching him from the doorway with a blush. Then Futaro went to talk to her after class. Izuku was already heading home, but Futaro dragged him along since he was following Itsuki, who was with two of her friends. While he followed them, Izuku went into a store where he bought some drinks and bags of chips, but he saw his brother hiding where he was taking pictures. Then Nen passed in front of him, sat down on some steps, took out some headphones, and put on music on his phone while drinking his soda, leaning back against the steps. "Are you having fun there all by yourself?" a girl asked. "Futaro, quite a lot, it's my hobby." "Your hobby is watching high school girls. We're in danger," he said to call someone. "Izuku, hey girl," he said, drawing the girl's attention, "don't call the police. My friend wants to apologize to your friend but doesn't know how." "Okay, but she's not my friend." "Izuku, okay. Here's thanks for your trouble," he said, giving her a drink. "Thank you," she said, before leaving with the girls. "Futaro, thank you. Izuku, me." Then the boys walked until they stood in front of a large building. "Futaro ch. Son Rico's. Izuku, that's why they pay you like a mercenary." Then Futaro looked at him with a serious expression. "Oh yeah, that's me." "Futaro, that's the correct direction," he said, starting to walk towards the building's entrance, followed by Izuku. A girl stopped them, putting her foot on top of a sign. "Are you a stalker?" he said, with his foot on the sign. Izuku, she doesn't know her panties are visible, she thought as she drank her soda with one hand and flashed the peace sign to the girl with the headphones with the other. "If you want something, talk to me. Futaro, you're no use to me." "How persistent," he said as he walked to one side of Futaro. "You're not very popular, are you?" "Go home," he said with a terrifying face. "Futaro, I live here. Are you really sorry?" "Meatless barbecue menu," said the girl with the headphones, making Futaro nervous. "Are you on a diet?" he said, surprising the other, and then Futaro ran off. Izuku runs like the wind. Target practice, she thought as she watched Futaro enter the building. One of the girls tried to stop him. "Okay, I'm going for my brother," he said, starting to walk towards the building. "I'm going with you," he said to the girl with the headphones. "Besides, you didn't say he was your friend," he said as he entered the building. "Izuku, you wouldn't do the same in my situation," he said, entering the other elevator, so the girl could select a floor. "MMA, maybe this. Izuku Uesugi, Miku Nakano. Izuku, are you Itsuki's sister?" He said this so that the girl could just nod. Just then the elevator doors opened to reveal Futaro with Itsuki pinned against the wall. "Izuku, I didn't know you were one of those, brother." At that moment, they both blushed, but the other door opened again, revealing three girls who saw them. "If it is the applied one, the stalker, is Uesugi-san a stalker?" "Miku, they judged him too quickly," she said, looking at the girls. "Futaro, what are they doing here?" Itsuki just sighed. "They obviously live here." "Futaro, do you share a house with 5 classmates?" Itsuki, "No, we are quintuplets," he said, leaving Futaro in shock. "Izuku, I think you broke it," he said, looking at Futaro. "Well, goodbye readers," he said, staring into nothingness. "Futaro, I'm Futaro Uesugi, your private tutor. We'll study in a fun way." "Izuku, why are you showing up if there's no one here?" He said this while eating some chips and looking at his phone in the salt of the quintuplets. "Futaro, I already know. It's me," said the orange-haired girl as she brought a glass of water. "Futaro Yotsuba, right, the one with 0 points," she said as the girl scratched the back of her neck in embarrassment, try frowning. "Yotsuba, but Izuku mothers if they are sisters," he said, surprised by the family relationship. "Yotsuba, and who are you?" he said, looking at Izuku. Izuku Mido perdon Izuku Uesugi. "Yotsuba, you're his brother." She said, impressed. "Izuku adopted 𝙂𝙤𝙧 and what are you doing here? As far as I know, I was just a tutor. Izuku I don't know either he said, to grab another potato. Futaro and why are you here? Izuku because it's his house he thought. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 so you can help me study naturally. Futaro 𝙂𝙤𝙧, can I hug you? Izuku that's how you'll scare them he thought. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 let's call the others ignoring what Futaro said. Izuku he thought, watching them go up to the second floor, but Futaro stopped. Futaro you won't help me. And Izuku food. Izuku no he said, go back to eating, which made Futaro angry. So Izuku was left alone while Futaro searched for the girls. He was buying ammunition for his weapons and video games. He continued like this until his phone rang. Izuku like Jews he said to answer his phone. Lopez funeral home, where we buried you he said so that they would hang him. Hung up ha ha ha. But what he didn't notice was how his brother and 4 girls were watching him. Izuku that, nothing they all said, confused. Izuku they are very innocent he thought when he saw how they reacted. To continue with what he was doing, but then a girl got up and approached Futaro. Don't you like cookies? Futaro I can't eat right now. Don't worry, I won't poison the cookies if you eat one, maybe I'll study he said with a smile, giving Izuku a bad feeling. Then Futaro grabbed a cookie and ate it. You eat with enthusiasm. This is delicious. Futaro and he said to grab another one. I'm glad, by the way, the truth is, we don't need a teacher he said, impressing everyone except Izuku. Izuku it's all over he thought while watching the soap opera. I'm just kidding, drink some water offering him a glass of water. Futaro thank you he said, taking the glass while Izuku waved no with his hands, then drank the glass of water. Bye. Futaro he said, before falling unconscious. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 Futaro she said worriedly. Miku what happened to him? He said without much interest. In idea, I just put it on but I didn't finish when I turned to look at Izuku. Izuku if on ******* street, building, 30th floor, a girl poisoned my brother 𝙃𝙤𝙧 said this while holding his phone to his ear, thus scaring the 4 girls. What are you doing said the girl who offered her the water in the future, sounding frightened. Izuku called the police seriously, they didn't forget about me, I look like Hagakure he said and thought the last thing. At the UA, with a girl with an invisibility quirk. 3 because I feel like punching a broccoli. With the protagonist. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 no child will go to prison she said crying, hugging her sister. Miku was about to say something because she remembered how she met Izuku, but Izuku gestured for her to be quiet, understanding, and she just nodded while the 2 girls remained in shock. Izuku for murder it would be 10 to 15 years. You don't mean it dshe was nervous. Izuku doesn't look he said, showing her his phone and noticing that she had called the police. Nino I didn't want to she said, on the verge of tears. But then they heard Futaro snore, which relieved the sisters. Nino turned to look at Izuku, but he was gone. Then she turned to look at Futaro, but he wasn't there either. She saw the door and watched as Izuku ran with Futaro on his back. Izuku little legs, what do I need you for? I screamed as I left the quintuplets' house. That made Miku chuckle a little while the others continued processing the information. What happened she said, looking at her sisters. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 in idea then the door opened again, revealing Izuku's head. Izuku see you tomorrow he said, closing the door again to avoid a book that was thrown at him. So he went with his brother on his back because, well, 1 to exercise and 2 because his phone battery died. Izuku ha ha ha, that poor guy is so lucky with those quintuplets he said, turning to look at them. Okay guys, that's all for today. I think a ton of stuff has happened with the girls, and remember that fruit is and I love you. He said, moving Futaro's hand so it fell on his face. Oh sorry, by then everything went black. After Izuku left the quintuplets' house, he went home where he left his brother, who got up in the middle of the car to do some handwritten exams. Izuku doesn't know that printers exist, he thought as he watched them taking the exam while eating a chocolate bar. After that, he went to give the quintuplets their exams. When he returned, Izuku took the exams from him to look at them and saw that none of them had passed. He looked at them while holding back his laughter at his brother's luck. You can see at the entrance where the siblings study how Futaro arrives tired, Then a limousine parks in front where the quintuplets get out to flee from Futaro, but he speaks to them at the entrance of the school. Futaro, I guess they reviewed the exam. The quintuplets just got nervous. Question 1. Who did Motonari defeat in the Battle of Itsukushima? But before anyone could answer, the sound of a car caught his and the quintuplets' attention. A black and green Mustang turned around and parked in front of the school. Nino, who do you think it is? He said to his sisters. Izuku got out of the car, smoking a cigarette. At that moment, Nino blushed upon seeing Izuku. He lowered his backpack from the car and began walking towards the entrance, locking the car as Futaro joined him. Futaro, why don't you tell me you came in the car? Izuku, I told you, but you still left. Futaro, you know I don't like it when you smoke. Izuku, you know they're flavored. He said as he turned them off, putting it on his arm happy. Futaro, and at that moment, he glanced at the quintuplets and realized they were starting to enter, dragging Nino along with a blushing boy. The brothers decided to enter as well. As they walked along, Futaro began to review his notes. Izuku, what do you have there? Futaro, it's the girls' exams, but Miku got question 1 right. Izuku, the one about the hearing aids. Futaro, and at that moment, Miku turned to look at them and continued on her way. During the break, Futaro had gone to buy something at the cafeteria, while Izuku went to a vending machine. When he finished buying, he saw Futaro trying to talk to Miku. He approached, and when he was next to Futaro, he just remained silent. Futaro, can I ask you something? It's about the question from this morning, he said, surprising Miku, but then a wild Yotsuba appeared. Yotsuba Uesugi-san, he said from Futaro's back. Futaro, Yotsuba. Yotsuba, sorry for running away this morning. Futaro, I know, friend. Yotsuba, look at this, he said, putting a leaf in Futaro's face. I got all my English homework wrong, he said, making the brothers sweat a little, while the girl laughed. Come on, don't interrupt them, he said, calming Yotsuba. Yotsuba, am I interrupting? You should study with Ikika too. Ikika, I think'll pass, you know how silly we are. Futaro, that's no reason to study. Ikika, besides, would it be okay to spend all your high school years studying? Should we enjoy your youth with romance, or what do you think, Izuku-kun? He said, moving closer to Izuku's face. Izuku, maybe so, he said, moving closer to Ikika and feeling her breath, which made the girl blush and caused her sisters to look at them in surprise. Or maybe not, he said, starting to walk to a table, leaving the girl red as a tomato, and at another table a girl broke a spoon after seeing such a scene. When the break ended, everyone returned to their classroom. When Izuku arrived, he could see Futaro with a letter in his hand. Izuku, what is that? He said as he sat down. Futaro, nothing else, I'm going to be late, I have something to take care of. Izuku, okay, but hurry up, I want a place. Upon leaving, he lost sight of Futaro. At the school entrance, he saw 4 of the 5 quintuplets, said goodbye to them, got into his car, and waited. After 20 minutes, his brother still hadn't come out. He was about to leave when he saw Miku leaving the academy. He knew his sisters had already left, so, like a true gentleman, he started the car and honked the horn, catching the girl's attention. Izuku, I'll give you a ride. Miku, thanks, but I don't want to bother you. Izuku, don't worry, I'm going to a shop near your building, I'll drop you off on my way. The girl thought about it for a few moments before opening the door and going upstairs. Miku, thank you. Izuku, it doesn't matter. At that moment, he started driving to the girl's building, where he asked permission to play music, and she agreed. When he played the music, he liked the girl's style. After a few minutes of driving, he stopped at the entrance of her building so the girl could get out. Miku, thanks, Izuku-kun. Izuku, it doesn't matter. Miku, enter, she said, offering him a late-night matcha doesn't have snot. Izuku, I know it's a reference, but I don't know which one, he said, receiving the can. Miku, at least you're being honest, she said with a smile. See you, he said to walk to the entrance. Izuku, see you. Then he opened the drink. Not bad. Then he started the car again and went to a video game store where he bought several games and some new controllers for the Nintendo Switch. When he bought everything and returned home, he saw Futaro reading several history books, which made a bead of sweat form on his brow. Futaro just went to his room and played games all day, watching the occasional chapter of manga. But what caught his attention was that he had a job for that weekend, and the payment was a white tiger cub. He accepted before some other bastard could get it and use it as a doormat. Izuku can be seen in his suit on a plane flying over a mercenary base. Soldier, okay, get the codes and your payment will be wheat breeding. Deku-page, consider it done, he said, raising his thumb. Soldier, okay, you know where to deliver them. Deku-page let the rock begin. Then he jumped out of the plane while listening to music. While I was falling, he got a bullet in the head. Well, after 2 hours he got up from a garbage dump. Deku-page, what the hell? Oh, I remember now. He stood up to draw his katanas, then saw a soldier and dared to start removing his suit. Deku-page, what? I'm a hero to the public, but also a mercenary when there's no public, he told the readers. When he finished changing, he started walking, and all the soldiers were looking at him strangely because he hadn't taken off his mask. Well, he continued until he reached a small office where a secretary was organizing some papers. Deku-page, good afternoon, I'm here for the codes, he said with a military salute. Secretariat, there they are, he said, pointing to several papers without paying attention to them. Deku-page, thank you, he said, taking the papers and leaving as if nothing had happened. I didn't think this shit would work, he said, already outside the base in a forest where a helicopter landed. Deku-page, another job well done, he said as he boarded the helicopter. On the way, he was talking to the one who made the deal, handing over the codes and getting a tiger cub. He was relaxed until his phone rang. Deku-page, may I? He said this so that the other would nod and answer. Hello. On the other end of the phone. Futaro, hey brother, Itsuki says, are you going to come help her study? Deku-page, tell him to clear the place and I'll go get fruit. Futaro, no medi hanging. He flew like that for a couple of minutes until they landed him at a building a couple of blocks from the quintuplets. He got out with a cage in his hand and walked until he passed through an alley. When he came out, he no longer had his suit or weapons and was carrying a backpack. Izuku, what? I have the script on my side. He said he was going to enter the quintuplets building and go up to their floor. When he got there, he walked to their door and knocked. A few seconds later, Itsuki opened it. Itsuki, Izuku, our. Izuku, hello, he said childishly. Then I went over to see Nino and Miku about to argue. Izuku, what's happening? He whispered to Itsuki. Itsuki, I don't know. Izuku, were you eating? He said, looking at Itsuki. Itsuki, sip. 3. At that moment, Izuku turned to look at the other two girls. Nino, what? Is there something wrong with good-looking guys? Are you saying that only inner beauty matters? He said in front of Miku. Miku, what if that were the case? Nino, I see. That's why you dress so badly, because you don't care about appearances. Miku, do you think those nails look good? Nino, you don't understand anything, do you? Miku, I don't want to do it. Izuku, what ovaries, he thought, watching the scene with Itsuki while they ate some chips. Futaro, come on girls, they're sisters, they should get along, he said, trying to calm them down. Can you stop arguing about inner and outer beauty? Miku, that's right, stop getting in the way. Izuku, oh, Nino, hindrance. At that moment, Futaro's stomach growled like a meow in the room, causing the girls to turn and look at Izuku entering the cage. Izuku, I forgot you, little buddy. Futaro, now what have you brought there? Don't tell me it's another crocodile. Nakano's what? Izuku, don't drag me into croc, and besides, look, he said, opening the cage and 2 baby tigers came out. Izuku, that's great, double prize. He said excitedly, but then Itsuki picked one up. Itsuki, how sweet, she said as she hugged him. Miku, they're pretty, she said, crouching down, while stroking the other one. Futaro, where did you get them? I whispered to Izuku. Izuku, job. Nino, leaving those balls of fur aside, receiving a growl from the tigers. Miku, why don't we have a competition about your precious inner beauty? Izuku, but she would surpass you in inner and outer beauty. A scream from behind Itsuki made Nino's forehead bulge and Miku blush. Nino, what do you think? Let's see who prepares the most welcoming food. Futaro, because. Itsuki, I support the idea. Izuku, me too. Nino, if I win, we won't study today, he said, walking to the kitchen. Futaro, you won't accept that, will you? He told Miku. Miku, I'll finish quickly. Wait for me sitting down, he said as he rolled up one sleeve and headed towards the kitchen. Q-Taro, sit down. Izuku, relax, he said, sitting just like Itsuki. After a while the girls came out with their dish. Nino, Terran. Nino, a baby shower with seasonal vegetables and ham. Miku, little man. Nino will be the one to decide which one tastes better, Izuku, he said while Izuku stood in front of the two plates and Futaro prevented Itsuki from eating them. Miku, better not. I'll eat it myself, he said, trying to take the plate, but then Izuku took it from him. Izuku Matanga said to the monkey he said to try Miku's dish while she was nervous and Nino had a victorious smile. She said, making most of them nervous. The best I've ever tasted, he said happily, making Miku look surprised. Miku, the other one, make the shape of chimichangas. Miku, chimichangas, he said, tilting his head. Futaro, things of his. Izuku, the other one. At that moment, he grabbed a spoonful from the child's plate, and after tasting it, he spat it out a few seconds later. What's wrong with you, girl? Are you trying to poison me? She said, taking a sip of a matcha soda courtesy of Miku. Nino, what? She said incredulously. Izuku, it has a ton of sugar, he said, surprising Nino, to try it and spit it out too. And as judge, jury, and final verdict, I declare Miku the winner, she said, making her happy. Nino stormed off to her room, while Futaro helped Miku clean the dishes. Izuku tried to feed Nino's plate to the tigers, who ignored him completely. Eventually, Futaro had to leave, and Itsuki dragged Izuku to her room to help her study for a while, followed by the cubs. After Futaro left, Izuku was dragged to Itsuki's room. She went out for something, leaving Izuku alone. After 20 minutes, he prepared to leave the girls' room, followed by the kids. When he left, he could see that they were in court. Izuku, now that he did, he whispered to himself, looking at his brother. Ikika, order in the room. Itsuki, your honor. Look at this. The accused, a private tutor, gave in to his base instincts for a high school girl. Izuku, but they're the same age, he thought, looking at the photo with his hands like a telescope. Itsuki, you're the one in the photo, aren't you, accused? He said, pointing at him. Futaro, these are slanders, he said on his knees with his head bowed. Izuku, Nino, your honor, he said, raising his hand. Ikika, you may speak. Plaintiff Nino-kun, he said, pointing at him. Nino, the man pretended to leave the apartment and waited for her to get out of the shower. Izuku, he doesn't have the guts to do that, he thought, watching everything from the second floor. Futaro, hey, that's false. Nino, I demand that he be banned from re-entering due to the atrocity of his crimes. Futaro, that's too much. Ikika, the truth was atrocious. Futaro. Ikika, I only came because I forgot something, he said, being ignored by her, with a pout. Lordship, then he smiled at her. Miku, protest, he said, raising his hand. Futaro looks like a criminal but he's innocent, he said this to help Izuku hold back his laughter. Futaro, criminal face. Miku, let me hear it through the intercom, I have the recording. It was an unforeseen accident. Futaro, Miku crying comically. Nino, you will remain on his side, pointing to Futaro, he said so himself. Leaning on the table in front of Miku, he came to have a drink. To take pictures of me. Miku, he came for something he forgot, he came to look for it. Nino, your honor. Miku is only defending him because of her personal preferences. Miku, no. Futaro, I knew you'd believe me, Miku, he said, approaching her. Miku, don't come near me, he said, looking away. Izuku, stupid. Futaro, what? Nino, are you adopting this attitude out of precaution? Miku, don't imagine things, he said, getting up. Nino, whatever the reason, he saw me naked. Miku, there's not much to see either, he said, facing the child. Nino, maybe not in your case, but I'm different. Miku, our bodies are the same. Itsuki, this is not the time to argue. Miku, keep silence, Itsuki. Nino, and delete those photos. Itsuki, lordship, he said, lying down in Ikika's lap. It disappears, I am, she said calmingly. Even if Miku is right, how did they end up in that position? He said, looking at the photo. Nino, Ikika, I knew you'd understand, this guy just lunged at me out of nowhere. He said, pointing to Futaro. Futaro, it wasn't because. Miku, Futaro, is it true? Futaro, yes, but, Miku, you are guilty, commit seppuku, making a pout. For Miku-san, how do I defend myself? He thought. Izuku, I protest, Your Honor, Izuku said, making everyone turn to look at him, as he came down the stairs in a suit. Making the girls blush. Itsuki, I forgot about you, Izuku, he said, drawing a drop of sweat from his face. Futaro, where did you get that from? Watching Izuku. Izuku, a magician never reveals his secrets, and continuing with the trial, if Your Honor will allow me, he told Ikika to give him the phone, and Ikika gave it to him. This is the evidence, but what they're not seeing are the small details, and those are. Itsuki, did you throw the books away, meaning you protected her? Futaro, that's it. Thank you, Itsuki. Itsuki, I didn't do anything. Miku, it's true, he said, looking at the photo that Izuku had. Ikika, besides, you wouldn't have the guts to do anything else. Izuku, snapping his fingers, we agree on that, Ikika. He said to receive a, hey, from Futaro. Nino, hey, why are you talking like you've solved it? Stop making things up. Miku, all ready for a child. Nino, I understand. Ikika, come on. Don't get like that, we used to get along so well, don't you remember? Futaro, even so, it happened because of my clumsiness, I'm sorry. Nino, used to. Futaro, ehhh. Nino, he said, before running out of the apartment. Izuku, they shouldn't go after her, he told Miku. Miku, that's your business. At that point, the boys decided to leave. Izuku told Itsuki he'd come back another day for his things. Back at the censor room, Izuku was half asleep, while Futaro was only thinking about studying. Then they received a message from 𝙁𝙁 saying she'd ordered dinner. When they left the building, they saw Nino sitting on the ground against a wall. She ran to the entrance, but it closed, and she cursed at the door before sitting back down. Then the boys started walking. Futaro, hey, we're not going to do anything. Izuku, I barely talked to him. That's your problem, so I'll see you at home. He said he was leaving with his backpack and the cubs. At that moment, Futaro turned around to talk about the same thing as in the anime manga, but with Izuku. Izuku was going home when he passed by a pet shop. Izuku, some things won't hurt them, he said, looking at the tigers in their cage. 10 minutes later, you can see Izuku leaving with a cart full of things. Izuku, what? It's good to have money, besides, I wasn't going to let them sleep in my bed. Well, leaving that aside, what awaits us tomorrow? The author will make longer chapters, come up with more ideas, and update something else. Find out in the next chapter. This adventure will continue, he said. Look how Izuku left with the little cart. It can be seen inside a house. Izuku was playing video games in the living room and 𝙁𝙁 was playing with the tigers while Futaro studied and said things that Izuku and 𝙁𝙁 didn't pay attention to. Izuku, 𝙁𝙁, I'm going to train for a while. I'm tired of listening to Futaro. 𝙁𝙁, okay, brother. At that moment, Izuku got up to go to his room, grab a katana, and go to the training room to talk to his sword. Izuku, how are my former colleagues doing? In BNHA, you could see several heroes and students from UA facing off against a toucan, which was winning. With the protagonist, Izuku, I think it's fine. After a while of training, his phone rang now that he said to check the door camera and see Itsuki there. And what did he come for? He said to press a button and the outside door would open. 𝙁𝙁 receives a visit. I yell at him to get a yes. Okay, I'll take a shower. After his shower, Izuku walked to the kitchen, but he had to pass through the living room. There, seeing Itsuki and Futaro in shock, he ignored them and went to the kitchen for something to eat. But then Futaro approached him. Futaro, Izuku, can I borrow your other car? Izuku, so that, as far as I know, you never liked driving. Then he thought of Something. Tell me you're going out with a girl, he said incredulously. Futaro, no. 𝙁𝙁, we'll go to the arcade with Itsuki, he said, arriving so that Izuku could look mischievously at Futaro, who blushed a little. Izuku, haha. Well, you know where they are, take them. 𝙁𝙁, you're not coming with us. She said tenderly. Izuku, I have to vaccinate the little ones another time, but we'll go another time, okay. 𝙁𝙁, yes sir, he said with a military salute. Follow, okay, see you. So everyone went their separate ways, with Izuku going to a zoo a little ways away where he paid part of the paperwork, a small bribe, to become the owner of the tigers, as well as for their medicine. Then he returned home where he left the cubs to be fed. Afterward, he walked to a warehouse near his house where something was covered up, and he uncovered it. Izuku what? Seeing the readers, you're not a mercenary every day. Then he got in and drove off to a place where there were more food stalls. He parked and started organizing everything. After Yuruto arrived, he found the place where people were waiting. There were going to be fireworks, so he sold his wares for a while until the fireworks were announced. People started moving, pushing each other. Izuku closed his stall and climbed through a hatch on the truck to the roof. He watched as the fireworks began to launch, but then he heard a loud bang on the truck. He peeked over the edge of the roof and saw Miku leaning against the truck, rubbing her foot. "Izuku Miku," he said so that she would turn to look at him. "Miku Izuku, what ace up there?" Izuku watching the fireworks, she said with a smile, "And you came alone." "Miku, he's not coming with my brothers, and neither are yours." "Izuku, and why are you alone?" "Miku, we separated, and besides, they hurt my foot, I ascend a mecha of pain." "Izuku, leave it down and I'll help you." He said this so that noises could be heard inside the truck and things could fall, and then Izuku would get out through the back door. "Let me help you get in." So, helping Miku get in, when she entered he sat her down on a bench to observe the interior of the truck while Izuku took out the first aid kit to apply ointment and bandage her foot. "Izuku, and that's it." "Miku, Izuku, why are you helping me?" Izuku just tilted his head. "He can't help a friend," she said with a smile, making Miku blush. "Miku, thank you." "Izuku, besides, where did your sisters meet?" "Miku, Nino had reserved a rooftop terrace in a building, but he didn't tell us which one." "Izuku, so you don't know?" He said this so that Miku would nod. "And where are my brothers now?" "Miku, I don't know, I didn't bring my phone to call Nino." "Izuku, let me try." At that moment, Izuku took out his phone to call Futaro, but Futaro sent it to voicemail. Why? Because he was pinned against the wall by 𝙂𝙤𝙏𝙪𝙥𝙪. "Izuku, damn, he's not answering," he said, then looked at Miku. "Do you know Nino's number?" She only denied. "Well, we have two options. Go out and look for them, or watch the fireworks from here. You decide." "Miku, I don't know if the others are gathered, but if not, let's watch the fireworks from here." She said with a small smile. "Izuku, okay, if you want, grab something to eat, it's on the house." He said to go down the ladder that was attached to the hatch. "He'll wait for you up there." He said he would go up to the roof, leaving Miku below, where he got a drink and changed his hairstyle. Then he went up to the roof to see how Izuku was sitting watching the fireworks. He turned to look at Miku and noticed her change in hairstyle. "Izuku, hi Miku, and sorry if I didn't notice before, but the change suits you well," he said, making Miku blush with a smile. "Miku, thank you, Izuku," he said, taking a seat. They watched the fireworks, and after a while, Miku leaned on Izuku's shoulder. He turned to look at her with a sad smile. Izuku understood that she wanted to watch the fireworks with her sister, and an idea came to him. He started sending messages. After a while, Izuku went to leave the food truck with Miku to get a motorcycle he had left there. They headed to a park where 3 of Miku's sisters were. He saw his little sister asleep on a bench and sat down to put her head in his lap as a pillow. Then he turned to look at the sisters, sitting in a circle, lighting a firework they had bought. Just then, Futaro arrived with 𝙂𝙤𝙏. "Yotsuba, welcome, 𝙂𝙤𝙏 and Uesugi-san," he said, looking at a surprised 𝙂𝙤𝙏 and Futaro. "Futaro, although it won't be as impressive as the show." "Yotsuba, everything's ready, Uesugi-san," he said as the two of them approached. "We couldn't wait any longer and started earlier." "Futaro, thank you for buying the fireworks. You also took care of Reiha." "Yotsuba, it was nothing. In fact, she was the one who took care of me," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "Nino, hey, standing up, I heard you left Itsuki behind," and left pointing to Futaro. "I was on the verge of tears." "Itsuki, hey kid, I told you it was a secret." "Futaro, I'm sorry." "Nino, I need to tell you a couple of things." Approaching Futaro. "Buentrabajo. Futaro, how confusing." With a drop of sweat. "Nino, you too, Izuku." He said this so that he would just raise his thumb. "𝙂𝙤𝙏, Itsuki. Itsuki, let's light fires together, Miku. Won't you bring them closer, please?" Miku, good, holding a lit flare in his hand, giving a firework to Futaro. "4 Thank you. Itsuki, you seem distant." "Nino, okay, let's get started right away." 𝙂𝙤𝙠𝙪𝙥𝙤𝙕 girls. She said this so that everyone would turn to look at her. I'm sorry 𝙂𝙤𝙦, it's my fault that everything ended like this, I'm truly sorry. 𝙂𝙁𝙀𝙁, you don't need to apologize. 𝙂𝙁𝙪, the good thing is that he feels it. 𝙃𝙁, you said it. Why didn't you contact us? You're the cause of everything that happened today. Izuku, how cruel, he thought, watching them. 𝙃𝙁, besides, it was my fault for forgetting to tell them where we were going. 𝙂𝙁𝙀𝙁, I'm fed up with being so disoriented. 𝙃𝙁, I made some mistakes too. 𝙃𝙁𝙀𝙁, I'm not entirely sure what's happening, but I feel it too. He said, scratching the back of his neck. I got distracted at the food stalls. 𝙂𝙤𝙦 girls. 𝙃𝙁, take by extending a firework to him. This one's yours, he said to get the girls to come closer. 𝙂𝙁𝙀𝙁, do you remember what Mom used to say? If one of us makes a mistake, all 5 of us fix it. If one of us finds happiness, all 5 of us share it. Joy, sadness, anger, affection, the girls said. 𝙂𝙁𝙁𝙁, together we are 1/5 of a whole. While the girls excitedly lit sparklers. Meanwhile, Izuku was smiling as he watched the scene with the boys, while 𝙂𝙁𝙁 was thinking about his studies. 𝙃𝙁𝙁𝙁, here we go, he said, so that a firework would burst into the sky. 𝙂𝙁𝙁𝙁, what a pathetic rocket, he thought. But then more rockets started to come out, surprising the quintuplets. There were quite a few rockets. At that moment, 𝙂𝙁𝙁 turned to look at his brother, smiling at him, but Miku saw him too, enjoying the spectacle as did the quintuplets. When they finished, they decided to end their fireworks display. 𝙃𝙁𝙁, there are only 5 left. 𝙂𝙤𝙁𝙁, choose whichever one you want. 1, 2, the girls said, to choose one. 𝙃𝙁𝙁𝙁, very good, he said, grabbing a blue one. 𝙂𝙁𝙁𝙁 is, he said, grabbing a yellow one, while 𝙃𝙁 grabbed a red one. 𝙂𝙤𝙁, how unusual. She said that she and Miku had already grabbed the same. We choose the same, he said, to let it go. I'll keep this other one. You don't want to let it go, do you? Worse, a memory of Miku with Izuku came. Miku, this time it will be different, he said, handing her the firework with a smile, surprising 𝙂𝙤𝙁𝙁 so that she would give him the green light. Thus, lighting the fires, the sisters, when they dug, 𝙂𝙤𝙁 approached 𝙂𝙁𝙁. 𝙂𝙤𝙁, I haven't thanked you yet. I'll have to cooperate in return for the support you gave me today. We're colleagues, right, but I'm not easy to deal with, so be prepared, said at last, smiling. But 𝙂𝙁𝙁 had fallen asleep with his eyes open while Izuku facepalmed. 𝙂𝙤𝙁, good heavens, said to approach a 𝙂𝙁𝙁 in her lap. Good job, thank you. You can rest for today. Teacher midterms will begin next week, and as a warning, any exam with less than 30 points will be failed. Try to keep studying. His class was declining. 𝙂𝙁𝙁, they finally arrived, but then Izuku bumps his head on the table under his seat. Decoupage, damn author, why are you only just releasing the opening after almost a week? He said, looking at me. Them dude, I forgot, and I'm sure I've done it other times too, I said with a nervous smile. Decoupage, well, here we go. During break time, Izuku can be seen read with his head still glued to the table when 𝙂𝙁𝙁 arrives with 𝙃𝙁𝙁𝙁, who was writing. 𝙂𝙁𝙁 calling their attention. 𝙃𝙁𝙁, what do you want? He said, stopping writing. 𝙂𝙁𝙁, wow, you study during recess. How responsible. He said the last part as he approached 𝙃𝙁𝙁. 𝙃𝙁𝙁, what? 𝙂𝙁𝙁, they also say you study at home. Izuku of the 𝙃𝙁𝙁 told them so that only the 2 of them could hear, but then a book hit him on the head, knocking him out of his seat. 𝙃𝙁𝙁 cow, she said, blushing. At that moment, his entire class left, leaving Izuku there unconscious. But then 2 sisters were passing by the classroom and saw him. 𝙂𝙤𝙁, Miku esse no s Izuku, he said, pointing to the living room so Miku would turn around. Miku, it's true, he said, looking at him on the ground. What are you doing? 𝙂𝙤𝙁, let's see. So they went to check on him. When they got close, they saw that he was unconscious, and next to him was 𝙃𝙁𝙁𝙁's book. Miku, what could he have done to her? He said, picking up the book. 𝙂𝙤𝙁, I don't know. What if we don't take it? He said with a mischievous look. Miku, let's take him with us to the library. She said, blushing slightly. 𝙂𝙤𝙁, okay, little sister. Then Miku and 𝙂𝙤𝙁 took Izuku to the library where they sat him down in a chair. Then 𝙂𝙁𝙁 arrived, explaining about the exams. 𝙂𝙁𝙁, what did you expect? You too, Miku, the history of Japan, what? You study English, your worst subject. Without being forced, Izuku, hey, that sounded bad. He said it so everyone could see. What? He said as he stretched. Miku, why were you unconscious in your classroom? Izuku, it was because I don't remember. He said, causing a bead of sweat to rise from everyone's brow. Yotsuba, we have to try our best, just like Miku. Ikika and silence, said the librarian. Yotsuba, why Ikika? And they said in a low voice, eliciting a small laugh from Izuku. Futaro, hey Izuku, are you staying for a while? She said this so that everyone would wait for her answer, but the one most interested in it was Miku. Izuku, a little while wasn't so bad. They spent their time studying, and when they were leaving school, the three sisters were talking to Izuku, while Futaro was coming behind them. Yotsuba, how tiring, he said, stretching. Miku, I want to get home already. Izuku likewise. Then they turned to see Futaro, who was deep in thought, while Ikika approached him and whispered in his ear, startling him, while Izuku held back his laughter. Futaro, Ikika. Ikika, there's no need to suffer, is there? It's not like we're going to get expelled for the midterms. We'll really try our best. Just be patient with us, although if you promise us something we'll try even harder. Izuku, I'm in calling the sisters' attention. Whoever manages to pass all the subjects with the minimum grade can ask me for anything, she said, smiling. Yotsuba, I want a seasonal fruit parfait, she said excitedly. Miku, I'll have a matcha parfait. Ikika, I'd like one too. Miku, let's invite the others and go now, she said, switching to her sisters while looking at her cell phone. Didn't they want to go home? With a drop of sweat. Izuku, let them enjoy it. Yotsuba, hey guys, if you don't hurry up we'll leave you behind. In the end, the girls invited Izuku to go with them, and Futaro too, but he didn't go because he had to study. Izuku went with the girls for a parfait, which is yogurt ice cream, but it looks good spending time with them. Futaro, well, he had a talk with his boss. You can see, read 3 of the quintuplets playing a board game with the brothers. One was thinking about how to avoid being fired and the other was enjoying his riches in the game. Yotsuba, Yuji-san, he said, calling for their attention. I got married. Money please. Futaro, oh yes, he said, handing her counterfeit bills. Yotsuba, thank you, grabbing them. Miku, my turn, he said, picking up the dice. Futaro, even in the game I tried, that's what he thought. We don't have time for this. But then a cushion hit him on the head. What? Izuku, let them enjoy the game, he said, wearing a suit and a top hat. Futaro, but they have to keep studying. Ikika, what? But we studied a lot today. Yotsuba, my head is going to explode, she said, letting her bun down. Izuku has a quirk, he thought as he saw the movement of Yotsuba's bun. Miku, it's not good to overdo it. Futaro, that's true, but Miku, Futaro, you seem more anxious than usual. Are things really that bad? Izuku, I don't know, you tell me, he thought, watching how the Nakanos looked at Futaro. Futaro, it's not that. To tell the truth, then Nino arrived. Nino, what? Are you playing instead of studying? I'm joining you. Switch with me, he said the last part while looking at Futaro. Miku, Futaro, what were you going to tell us? Futaro, it's no big deal. Nino, damn. You don't have any money. I should have traded with him, he thought the last part while looking at Izuku. Meanwhile, Futaro was thinking about how to keep Nino from finding out. Nino, didn't you want to join? He told Itsuki that he was behind Futaro and she. Futaro, Itsuki, about yesterday. Itsuki, I have to study. Izuku, she forgot she asked me for help, or her pride won't let her, he thought as Itsuki walked past behind him, at which point Nino stood up and began to push Futaro. Nino, your classes are over for today, right? Get out of here, he said as he pushed Futaro towards the exit. Futaro, hey, wait. Nino, come on, just go. Futaro, Nino. Ikika, wait for the future, calling the attention of Thiz, didn't break your promise. You said you'd spend the night here to help us study, he said, surprising Nino and Futaro. You can stay too, Izuku. Izuku is. But then she saw Miku pouting and Yotsuba nodding her head since she was standing in front of them. I'll accept your invitation. After that, the boys were given the bathroom to bathe. The first to enter was Futaro. While he was bathing in the living room of the quintuplets' house, there were 3 sisters and Izuku was on the balcony explaining to Reiha why they wouldn't be going home. Yotsuba, is Uesugi-san taking a long time? 𝙂𝙤𝙧 must he be enjoying the water where 5 marshmallows bathed. Miku bathtub. 𝙂𝙧 do you want to go look for him? Miku shook her head and while you're at it, you could try to flirt with her a little. Miku no he said, glancing sideways at Izuku. Yotsuba Uesugi-san, you're back, he said while Futaro was standing in the doorway. At that moment, Izuku, rubbing his ear a little, handed her his cell phone, saying, take care of it. He then went to take a bath. Meanwhile, Futaro went to the balcony to talk to his little sister, immediately taking the phone away from his ear. After telling her everything, he prepared to teach the Nakanos, telling her that he would answer any questions she asked. Yotsuba asked one in English, but Miku asked. Miku I'd like to know. What kind of girls do you like? 4EH, Yotsuba EH, Nino EH, 𝙂𝙧 EH, Izuku K Verga he said as he entered. Then everyone looked at him again to see him at the door, surprised, but he wasn't wearing a shirt, revealing his well-built body, making the Nakanos blush while 𝙂𝙧 drooled a little. Futaro put on your shirt. Izuku ups he said to put on his shirt but you're not getting away with it, that's a very good question. Futaro does that matter now? Yotsuba me, she said this so that they would turn around and look at her. I'm interested too. Futaro but what? If you want to know so badly, I'll tell you she was holding up a sheet of paper that listed 3 favorite qualities in a girl, but nobody knows where she got it. Izuku and you call me weird, he complained. So Futaro told them that he would give them 1 question for each page answered. At that moment, Izuku approached him while the Nakanos were answering their book. Izuku are you going to keep trying? I whisper to him. Futaro yes, if they fail I'll resign. Besides, if things were like they were before I'd be more worried. Thanks for that. She whispered to him. Izuku it doesn't matter. Futaro besides, it's kind of fun she said with a small smile. After a few minutes, Yotsuba this is where it ends he said with his hand raised. Futaro so, thirdly, always cheerful the note said, catching the attention of Nino, who was at the dining room table looking at his cell phone. Miku term. Futaro secondly, a good cook. 𝙂𝙧 term. Futaro well, first of all, she said, leaving a silence while most of the sisters listened attentively, that he take care of his brother. Nino that's your sister. I yelled so everyone could see her before starting to go to my room. Izuku I feel cheated. He said to sit on the floor with his legs crossed. Futaro and you Izuku he said it so everyone could see, even Nino, who stopped halfway up the stairs. Izuku my preferences in a girl, 1, that I like her, obviously, 2, that she's sweet, 3, that she likes video games 𝙂𝙧 said, surprising everyone, and spoke but and don't try to poison me. Nino what he meant to tell me he thought as he climbed. Yotsuba Uesugi Izuku was sincere, why aren't you like him? Miku maybe I'll have a chance. Futaro I already told you my position on the matter, I'm not interested in romance he said, while putting a hand to his head. Izuku I'm going to remind you of that on your wedding day he said, sitting on the floor eating cereal. Futaro and where do you get things out of thin air? Izuku Pokemon magic he said, shrugging his shoulders and eating his cereal. They remained silent for a few seconds until 𝙂𝙧 broke it. 𝙂𝙧 wow, great, Miku has finished all her tasks. Futaro, you should congratulate others for their effort. He said, walking like this. Futaro so he said to put Futaro's arm on Miku's head good girl. Miku 𝙂𝙧 why do you keep bothering me with him she thought with a pout. 𝙂𝙧 so, doesn't it make your heart race? Futaro not at all she said, withdrawing her hand, and Miku, looking away slightly annoyed, made 𝙂𝙧 pout. 𝙂𝙧 Yotsuba revisalo. He told Yotsuba to stop eating with Izuku and start chasing Futaro. Miku turned to look at Izuku, and he gave her a thumbs up, making her blush. Meanwhile, Futaro was running away from Yotsuba. When he stopped, she bumped into him, surprising her sisters. Yotsuba could hear her heartbeat. After a few seconds, she stepped back. Yotsuba his heart started racing. He said, pointing at Futaro. Futaro it was from running so much. Etsuki they're so noisy, I thought study groups were quieter. I said, going down the stairs. Izuku it's more of a sleepover, I'm not doing anything he thought. At that moment, 𝙂𝙗 turned to look at Izuku, who simply shook his head. Itsuka then asked Miku for her headphones, and Miku handed them over. In his last attempt, 𝙂𝙗 asked her to stay, as always, but she refused. When 𝙂𝙤 left, she took 𝙂𝙗 to the balcony while Izuku helped Miku and Yotsuba study. While they talked, they realized they had forgotten something, where the kids would sleep. In the end, Yotsuba lent her room to 𝙂𝙗 while she slept with Itsuka, and she lent Izuku her room. Miku, well, you can use my bed, he said, closing the door. Izuku, I wasn't going to sleep on the floor, he said sarcastically to himself. Izuku then lay down to take out his phone and see if he had any work. Seeing that there was nothing, he took off his shirt and began to fall asleep. In the middle of the night, in 𝙂𝙤's room where Miku was sleeping, she got up. 𝙂𝙤, what happened? Miku, I'm going to the bathroom, half asleep. When she finished doing her business, she returned but went into her room. As the sun began to rise, Izuku got up yawning, turned around, and saw Miku asleep there. Izuku, what? Use protection, he thought. After what happened with Izuku and Miku, he had to leave because he had a job, but he had to travel to the other side of the world for business. While Izuku was doing business with 𝙂𝙗 made one last attempt to get them to study, managing to get only Nino to skip it. Anyway, they spent the weekend studying until the day of the exams, where they overslept and arrived late. In the end, using the quintuplet factor, they managed to get in, but 𝙂𝙗 was stopped. The exams began, and the quintuplets had different thoughts. 𝙂𝙗 was carefree, while Izuku was praying because he hadn't studied at all. That same day, Miku apologized to Izuku for what happened that night, thinking he was angry, but he was never angry with her. They resolved the issue, and the days passed until the report cards were handed out. The quintuplets were gathered in the library when 𝙂𝙗 and Izuku arrived. 𝙂𝙗, hello, thank you for coming, he said as Izuku made the peace sign. 𝙂𝙤, what's wrong? You're very formal. Miku, the results are in. Can you show us the parts where we made mistakes? 𝙂𝙗, were we able to see the results first? 𝙂𝙤, sure. Itsuki, I'd rather not, she said, surprising her sisters. It's personal information. I refuse. 𝙂𝙤, Itsuki, future Sai, thank you, but I'm ready. I'm waiting. 𝙂𝙗 just sighed. Wait a minute, I'll make a call, he said, walking away as two brothers looked frightened. Itsuki, she won't, she said worriedly. Miku, do what? Izuku, give up, she said, surprising the other sisters. Her father said that if they failed any subject he expected her to resign. Then Nino ran off. 𝙂𝙤, and why didn't you tell us? Izuku, I didn't want to pressure them, so he said, shrugging. He did his best to help them. Then Nino and 𝙂𝙗 arrived, and then the others approached them. 𝙂𝙗, why did you lie? Nino, each one passed one subject, so I didn't lie. 𝙂𝙗, are you serious? Izuku, well thought out. Nino, I had to trick Dad and it might not work again, so take advantage of this opportunity, he said, surprising 𝙂𝙗. 𝙂𝙗, you'll see. Izuku, well, you'll just have to put up with them. Nino, you're not getting away with this. I told my dad about you, he said, pointing at Izuku. 𝙂𝙤, what are they talking about? Yotsuba, did I actually pass all 5 subjects? 𝙃𝙖 child, surprised, drew a drop of sweat from the brothers and the boy. How? 𝙂𝙤, what do you mean you talked to Izuku's dad? Ignorando Yotsuba. Nino, let's say he's our second tutor, she said, surprising the sisters and Izuku, who didn't even know what had happened, while a girl got excited but tried to hide it. Itsuki, Miku, he said, calling their attention. It seems they will now accompany us a little longer. He said this to make Miku smile as she watched Izuku argue with 𝙂𝙗 and Nino. Miku, you're right. Yotsuba, great. Let's review, he said, scaring the child. 𝙂𝙗, wait. Izuku, your grades, he said seriously. Izuku, oh, right, he said to give her her exam, and all the sisters became interested in that. 𝙂𝙗 opened it to see that they all had a 30-something. 𝙂𝙗, that you passed them all with the minimum requirements, he said, surprised and disappointed. Nino, didn't you say you were very clever? She said mockingly. Izuku, I'm a lucky man, he said proudly. I didn't fail part of it, she said, making Nino turn around angrily. 𝙂𝙗, putting that aside, it's good to study after an exam, but there was no reward. Glancing sideways at Izuku, perfect, right. At that moment, the quintuplets started laughing at Futaro's pronunciation, while Izuku took the opportunity to escape. "Itsuki, in that case, I'll order an extra large," making Futaro think she's a glutton. Ikika true remembering Izuku, he told her to stop just as she was about to leave. "Izuku and Ikika, remember our reward, Itsuki, which?" she said, confused, just like Nino. Futaro, their reward was whatever they wanted. Iho thrilling the Nakanos, but they passed all their subjects. Nino, but approximately. Izuku, okay, but it will only be for the one who scored the most points, and that was Futaro. Miku, he said as the girl blushed. Izuku, and what are you going to order, Miku? Miku, this, she said nervously, then Ikika approached her. Ikika, a date, I whisper in her ear. Miku, a date, she said with a blush, surprising everyone. Izuku, consider it done. She said with a smile as Miku nodded, blushing. Outside the school, the sisters were walking ahead of the boys. Futaro, and you're going to tell them? Izuku, maybe, I'm not sure, he said, looking at his hand. Futaro, in any case, you have my support, he said, placing his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku, thanks, brother. At that moment, the quintuplets asked Futaro about his grades, revealing that he had a 100 in all of them, while Izuku said the usual thing. Futaro can be seen checking the quintuplets' grades while sitting at the table in front of his father, while 𝙁𝙁 and Izuku were cleaning the dishes. Isanari, Futaro forgot his studies at home, he said while eating. Futaro, what kind of parenting is that? Izuku, better than mine. Shout. Futaro, besides, you're the one who got us into this job. Isanari, us. Futaro, in the end, Izuku got hired because of me. Isanari, I understand, besides, you weren't always an exemplary student, remember? You worry, Itsuki and the others will change. 𝙁𝙁, what? Wasn't my brother a study freak? He said, entering next to Izuku. Isanari, he used to be a wild man like me, he said, surprising 𝙁𝙁. Izuku, and where did that man end up? He said, looking for him, which angered Futaro. Isanari, I know you have a picture from those times in your school notebook, he was telling Futaro. 𝙁𝙁, I want to see her. Futaro, no, never ever, I was telling 𝙁𝙁. Isanari, I have it, he said, holding the notebook in his hand. Futaro, hey dad. 𝙁𝙁, show them to me as he approached his dad. Isanari looked, showing him the photo. Izuku, let's see. 𝙁𝙁, is this my brother? Unbelievable. Izuku, the golden age of Futaro, he said, looking at the photo. Isanari, it was around that time that you met the girl who made you change, he said, surprising Futaro. Futaro, I don't know what you're talking about. 𝙁𝙁, hey, was that your first love? Futaro, no. Izuku, typical of the gentleman. I'm not interested. He said mockingly. Now comes the opening, he told the readers, which many will skip. Yotsuba, what are they? Miku, croquettes. Yotsuba, weren't they stones? Miku, I know they taste good, try them, I decide, to Izuku and Futaro. Yotsuba, the hair. Futaro, did you prepare the bed? Surprising Miku. Izuku, let's see, he said, so that each one could grab a flirtatious one. Izuku, why Futaro, thank you, they said they would eat together, Yotsuba. Futaro, they're fine. Izuku, it's better than what those bastards gave me, he thought as he ate, about giving Miku a thumbs up. Yotsuba, they're not that good. Futaro, but you're so picky about food, Yotsuba. She said, looking at her. Yotsuba, you're the ones with bad taste. Miku, are they good or not, he thought. For I don't mind. Let's review the exams, he said, starting to walk, while Izuku followed him. Miku, they wait, calling their attention. Izuku, he also has a quirk, he thought, a little scared by the aura that Miku gave off. Then Miku went back to the kitchen to start preparing more croquettes. After several attempts and after they tasted them, Izuku offered to help her. After a while, Futaro couldn't stand it anymore and his stomach hurt, so Yotsuba sent Miku and Izuku to get medicine while Izuku told Futaro that he couldn't stand anything. After buying the medicine, Izuku and Miku were walking back. Izuku, and when do you want us to go on the date? Miku, I thought I'd forget, you seem to think after the camp, she said with a small smile. Izuku understood, so after talking for a while, they arrived to see Futaro and pull Izuku to go home. Later, at school, Yotsuba was entering the library, saying, camp. When she entered, She saw Izuku helping Miku while Futaro had his back turned. When she turned around, he was wearing a mask with a wig, scaring her. They tried this several times until a student came to quiet them down. "Yotsuba, what will you do with all those masks?" he said, looking at a mask full of masks. "Miku, they need to plan the test of courage." Yotsuba, "Ah, that's unexpectedly social for someone like you." Futaro, "I'm not doing this for fun. My class had to take the test of courage and someone wanted to take it," he said, looking at Izuku, "and I'm doing it so I don't scare them to death." "Izuku, I'm not going to kill them," he said, so that his gaze darkened. "They're going to ask for death." Yotsuba, "Poor Miku, it's Izuku's fault. Seeing how he behaved." Futaro, "Besides, I'll get my revenge on them by scaring them like never before," he said, putting on his mask. Izuku, "That's the spirit. Miku, they seem to enjoy it." Yotsuba, "It's wrong of you to do this for Izuku. I'm going to complain to your class." Futaro, "Don't go. Miku is right, it's Izuku's fault." Izuku, all of me, he said, crying comically. Yotsuba, "But," making a pout. Futaro, "Besides, I don't care about school camp." Izuku, "If I could, I would stay studying," he said, making Miku giggle a little. Yotsuba, "Well, let's talk about something that might excite you about camp. My classmates told me something. Do you know there's a legend about school camp? Izuku, there's a girl who died there and seeks rest in exchange for your soul." Yotsuba, "Really?" she said, frightened. Izuku, "Nop. 3. Yotsuba just sighed in relief. "Well, the legend I'm telling you is that couples who are together at the last dance by the bonfire are destined to stay together," she said, like a woman in love. Futaro, "How unrealistic and ridiculous." Izuku, "I expected it," she said, bursting into laughter as Miku nodded her head. Yotsuba, "They are very rational," he said while pointing at them. "Come on. It's a bonfire. A legend about destiny. Don't you think it's romantic?" Futaro, "Let's study," referring to Yotsuba. "Aikika, hello," she said, arriving. Futaro, "Aikika, you're late." "Aikika, what are you doing with that?" Futaro, "It doesn't matter, we'll study math." Aikika, "Sorry, but I'll have a film shoot and I figured from now on it would be better to let you know in advance, so let's exchange emails," he said, showing his phone and winking at the end. Futaro, "Emails? Huh, Izuku, couldn't start with your nonsense and keep things simple," he said while resting his head on the table. Futaro, given that he said as he took out his cell phone. Yotsuba, "Yes, let's exchange addresses. Uesugi-san, I'd be happy to give you my email address." "Oh, but first, Aikika list just registered your email with Futaro." Futaro, "Yotsuba, what are you doing?" looking at her out of the corner of his eye while she folded some colored papers. Yotsuba, "I'll make 1,000 paper cranes. A friend of a friend is in the hospital," continuing with what she was doing. Futaro, "Studies size, let me help you." Yotsuba, "Good. Wow, Nakano," making Aikika turn around. Yotsuba, "Teacher, it's great to see you. Could you leave this on your classmates' desks?" he said, going with Yotsuba. Yotsuba, of course, picking up a pile of papers while Fuetro just sighed and amused himself by making paper cranes. Aikika, "Well, I'm leaving. Miku, have a good one." Yotsuba, "Onimo, Aikika." Just then, Futaro's phone buzzed with a notification. Izuku turned to look at him and saw he was pale. He stood up to see. Izuku, "You're screwed, bro," viewing the message. Futaro, "As your personal tutor, I need your email address." "Okay. Miku, here's mine," he said, showing her his phone. Futaro, "I did it. I guess I'll get Nino's and Itsuki's another day," she said while registering Miku's. Yotsuba, "I saw them in the cafeteria. Let's go," he said, withdrawing. Futaro, "What about yours?" he said to give himself a footstep. "Thank you," he said, handing the phone back to Miku. "Save my address." Miku, good, grabbing his phone. Futaro, Espera, Yotsuba going behind her. In that, Miku turned to see Izuku. "Miku, you're not going to want it." Izuku, "You write it down," giving her phone number. Miku wrote down her email address. Miku, "And you're not going to go after my sisters?" she said, blushing slightly. Izuku, "I'll ask Futaro later," he said, smiling at her. So they spent a little while studying the next day in the quintuplets' house. Futaro can be seen kneeling in front of Nino. "Nino, I can't believe it. Who interrupts a girl's room first thing in the morning?" Izuku, "I told you it was a bad idea," he said, sitting at the table drinking a coffee that Miku offered him. Miku besides, I gave him permission, she said, sitting in front of Izuku. Nino, what authority do you have? He said, looking at Miku. Futaro, I apologize, I just wanted to get my notebook back as soon as possible. Nino, I see you're sincere, you're hiding something here, he said while holding the notebook in his hand. Izuku, you're in a tough spot, brother, he thought about that under Ikika. Ikika, good morning Futaro, here's Nino leaving a machine on the table, that's what we talked about yesterday. Can you do it on your own? Nino, I already told you yes. Don't underestimate me. Then Futaro tried to get his notebook back, but Nino wouldn't let him. He got up and reached into a pocket of his robe to look at it. After that, they went to Nino's room. Izuku, that was a drill. Ikika and Izuku, I wanted to get some but my healing factor won't let me, he said, crying comically. After a while, Nino came out with a photo album without the piercing. While the girls watched, Izuku fell asleep at the table, and Futaro was looking at a photo of him from 5 years ago. Izuku and Futaro can be seen walking in the hallways of their school while Futaro was reading something in his notebook. Izuku was listening to music, but so, a wild Yotsuba seems. Yotsuba guys, he said as he bumped into Futaro's back. Futaro, Yotsuba. Yotsuba, tomorrow is the day, she said as Miku came up behind her. Futaro. What about? Izuku facepalmed. Yotsuba, what else? This. School camp. Showing a guide. Have you read the pamphlet yet? Futaro, no, while Izuku was saying something like this with his hand. Then Yotsuba started listing the activities, moving around. The last thing she said was about the campfire and the legend, while Miku had a memory of what Yotsuba had said. Yotsuba, they say that many started going out because of that. Futaro, student relationships are a waste of time. Yotsuba, but wouldn't it be nice to go out with the person you like? Right, Miku. Turning to look at her, Miku. Miku, why do we go out with the people we like? Futaro, why Yotsuba Izuku, and why did he ask me for the appointment? He wondered to himself, a drop of sweat forming on his brow. Ikika, it's because you like it so much you can't help it. Said behind Miku, I'm sure you understand, Miku. Izuku, how poetic. He told Ikika as Miku turned her gaze away. Futaro, well, now that everyone is here, we'll study. Yotsuba, today too, she said nervously. Izuku, which today also, yesterday the only one who studied was Miku. Ikika, sorry, but I have a shoot today, so I'll pass. Actually, I already sent you a message. At that moment, Futaro checks his phone. Yotsuba, I have to get ready for tomorrow, he said, about to run away. Futaro, wait, he said to go behind her, leaving Izuku with the two sisters. Ikika, Miku, my class is having a meeting about the camp, she said, handing him a wig the same color as his hair. Can you do what you always do? She said, clasping her hands together. Miku, all right, he said to turn around. Izuku, will you come with me? Izuku, okay, going with her. Then they went to the bathrooms where Miku went in and Izuku waited outside leaning against the wall with his eyes closed. After a few minutes, Ikika came out. Ikika, listo Izuku, he told the pair to open their eyes. Izuku, you know that if it weren't for your headphones, I'd confuse you, Miku. He said, surprised, so that she would smile at him. Now, dear readers, the opening continues. Izuku, dude, that's not him. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I said while I was searching. Izuku, already or what? List said. Then Miku, Ikika, started walking towards Ikika's classroom. Izuku, Oyamiku. Miku-en. He said, tilting his head. Izuku, and if they confess to Ikika. Miku, but is it a meeting? Izuku, or they lied to her so they could be alone with her, he said this to give Miku something to think about. Miku, if that happens, I'll take off my wig. Izuku, understand. Miku, Izuku, and he said, turning to look at her. Miku, would you like to dance with me around the campfire? She said, blushing and playing with her fingers. Izuku, of course, he said as he put his arm around Miku's neck, making her blush. They continued talking until they reached Ikika's classroom, where Miku, Ikika, went inside, leaving Izuku outside. Thank you for coming, Nakano, a male voice said. Miku, Ikika, let's see. Maeda, right, and the rest, he said while looking around the room alone. Maeda, I'm sorry, I lied to you to get you to come. Izuku was right, he thought. Maeda, dance with me by the bonfire, please. Ikika, why do you want to dance with me? Maeda, well, you see, I like you. He said, blushing. I see this happens to Ikika quite often. I'm sorry. Then she took off her wig, but you should ask her, he said, surprising the boy. Maeda, I see, she didn't want to come. He said, depressed. It's not that I had an important commitment. Maeda, and wouldn't you like to dance with me? He said hopefully. I'm sorry, but I already have a partner. Maeda, but. Then he saw Izuku leaning against the door frame. Izuku, he said excitedly. Izuku, the girl already told you no, don't be stubborn. Maeda, I'm sorry, Nakano. Izuku, okay, we're leaving, Miku. And then the two of them left the classroom to go to the first floor of the school and to the lockers. Understanding. Izuku and why did the boy get scared when he saw you? Izuku, well, that's a story that happened in first grade. He said, laughing nervously. Yotsuba, there they are. He said this so that Nino and Itsuki could arrive while Yotsuba pulled Futaro along. Nino, okay, let's go. Izuku, where to? That's how the sisters took the boys to the mall where they tried on outfits for them. Futaro, are you sure? She said, holding a shopping bag in her hand, while Izuku wore a Pikachu hat and drank a smoothie. But Nino, we're not doing this for you. We don't want you dressed like that with us, like a bum. Yotsuba, but this whole thing about going out and shopping for clothes with the guys, it was like a date, wasn't it? She said, making her sisters blush, but especially Miku. Itsuki, we only go shopping. Students shouldn't be dating, it's wrong. Izuku, Futaro 2.0 shout, pointing at Itsuki, pbut, the date I have with your sister is also wrong. Itsuki, but we are students, and you teachers must maintain a safe distance. Futaro, I do that, he doesn't, he said, pointing at Izuku. Izuku, that was before I officially accepted the job. Yotsuba, guys, remember to check the pamphlet. Futaro, why would I do it? Yotsuba, you'd better go, let's make some great memories. He said goodbye, and then Futaro took out his cell phone. Izuku, what happened? Futaro, we have to go home. So the two of them went home quickly, and Futaro went ahead while Izuku closed the door. For Reiha, are you okay? He said, entering to see her lying on the living room sofa. Reiha, brother, I think I have a fever. I feel unwell while you're out. Futaro, you have a weak body, decans. We brought medicine and something to drink. Reiha, then give me the medicine. Futaro, sure. Reiha, dry my sweat. Futaro, and Reiha, do my homework. Futaro, well, listen, that's just a whim of yours. Izuku watched all of this with a bead of sweat on his brow as he saw Futaro doing everything his little sister told him to do. Reiha, thank you. Futaro, dad says he'll come as soon as he finishes work. Reiha, I see, he said, settling in your camp starts tomorrow, right? Futaro, and Reiha, can I ask you for one more treat? Tell me lots of funny stories. When they get back, I'll be fine on my own. For I understand, sleep well. He said this so that Reiha would fall asleep. Then he got up to go to the kitchen and saw Izuku cooking. Izuku, and how is this? Futaro, she's resting, but we can't leave her alone tomorrow. Izuku, solo sigh, I'm here, dad. Shall we go in the car, or would you rather stay and study? He said the last part mockingly as he gave her a plate of food. Futaro, thanks, and that would be a better idea. Izuku, for you, but I have a commitment. The next day at school, students could be seen standing in front of some buses, but we focused on a redhead who was talking to her classmates. Nakano. Itsuki Nakano, I called her teacher, making her turn around. Itsuki-en, could you help with a replacement on the value test committee? Her teacher said, surprising her. In the house of the Uesugis, Isanari can be seen running inside the house. Isanari, Reiha, are you still alive? He said, entering, then he saw Futaro. Futaro, dad still asleep, turning to look at him, keep silent. Isanari, are you looking after her? The bus to camp should have left by now. Futaro, yes, but we'll go in the car. I have to fulfill a whim of Reiha's. She said with a small smile. Isanari, I understand, take this, giving it a guide with several stickers, and enjoy. At that moment, Futaro went to get Izuku, and as they were both passing through the room to leave, Reiha stood up. Reiha, I'm hungry. Izuku 𝙂𝙤 𝙃𝙖𝙣𝙲, what about your fever? 𝙃𝙗 he left, thank you brothers, you can go to camp now. Izuku that's what we're going to do. 𝙃𝙗 right, see you later. 𝙃𝙗 bye. Then they both went to the garage to get Izuku's car. They were about to leave the house when two girls were arguing at the gate. Itsuki I'm telling you, they live here. Nino how are those idiots going to live here, she said angrily. Ikika she's right, Itsuki, but the other day I came to give him his pay and they let me in, she said, confused. Nino for sure, but he couldn't finish because of the sound of a horn, which made them turn around, seeing the open gate and Izuku peeking his head out of the car. Izuku, move or I'll run you over with my car, and besides, what did you come here for? Itsuki, well, someone was worried about you. Secretly watching two of her sisters apart from the courage test committee, I couldn't take charge, ghosts terrify me. Izuku I think I need to relax or he'll have a heart attack, she thought. Itsuki they have to take charge. Izuku well, since they're here, 𝙃𝙗, go with them. He said, looking at him. Future but why me? Izuku do you know how to ride a motorcycle? 𝙃𝙗 no. Izuku there is this. 𝙃𝙗 what else can I do? He said to get out of the car. Yotsuba okay, let's go. Ikika but Izuku won't be coming with us. He said, watching as he pulled the car in. 𝙃𝙗 no, he'll go on his motorcycle. Itsuki but is there enough space? 𝙃𝙗 leave him alone, he won't change his mind. So they left, and Izuku left on his motorcycle. The car carrying the quintuplets had gone ahead while Izuku went to refuel, while the quintuplets were playing a game of Guess the Quintuplet. They finished a round, watching 𝙃𝙗 get more excited, but they were stuck in traffic. Yotsuba we've been stuck in traffic for an hour now. Ikika you're right, Miku 𝙃𝙗 he said, calling him. 𝙃𝙗 if that happens Miku. Miku Izuku wasn't going to come by motorcycle. 𝙃𝙗 and Miku and it's snowing outside that's when her sisters understood and became worried. 𝙃𝙗 don't worry, he'll be fine, besides, he can't die, he thought the last thing. But then a motorcycle sped past them. A while later, 𝙃𝙗 and the quintuplets were in a room at some cabins. Nino I won't share a room with him he said, referring to 𝙃𝙗, who was neutral. Yotsuba a large group arrived without a reservation, it was the only option left. Nino we had the car. Yotsuba the driver had work, so he returned. Nino there was a room in front of the inn, wasn't there, referring to a doghouse while 𝙃𝙗 checked his backpack. Yotsuba would be dead by dawn. Nino that would be good. Yotsuba car that doesn't. Itsuki I think so. While 𝙃𝙗 was reading a letter that 𝙃𝙗 had written to him, Miku received a call and stepped away a little to answer it. Miku hello. Izuku 𝙃𝙗 he said, freezing. Miku hi Izuku, what do you need? Izuku where they are staying. Miku bye. Izuku no all lugar para dormir. Miku well, we're in name of place room 21. Izuku puedo ir. Miku in. A few minutes passed while Izuku was gone. The girls had a mini meeting and then played cards. While they were playing, there was a knock at the door. Yotsuba I'm coming then he got up to open the door and saw Izuku. Izuku pue du pasar he said, trembling. Yotsuba forward. Then Izuku walked by to see everyone playing cards. Izuku hello he said more calmly, then 𝙃𝙗 saw him and became worried. 𝙃𝙗 Izuku. Izuku that. 𝙃𝙗 did you have an accident he said so that the other quintuplets could see him and get scared. Izuku well no then 𝙃𝙗 pointed at his stomach so that he could see that he had two branches piercing him, one in his stomach and the other in his leg. Shit he said, before falling unconscious. Nakano's Izuku they shouted in concern. Itsuki what do we do? He said, agitated. Ikika we need to call an ambulance. Yotsuba I'm calling her he said, holding his phone, but then 𝙃𝙗 took it from him what? Miku what are you doing? Do you need help? She said angrily and worried. 𝙃𝙗 just sighed, turned around to face Izuku, and pulled out the branches, further frightening the quintuplets. Nino what are you doing, idiot? He's going to bleed to death. She said, frightened. 𝙃𝙗 just let him rest. Said the quintuplets, surprise, thinking that I was letting him die. Miku no he can't die she said between sobs. "Itsuki, we can still save him," she said, the same as her sister. "Futaro, just watch." At that moment, the quintuplets saw Izuku's leg tissues begin to rejoin, surprising them. "Itsuki, that. Futaro, let him wake up and he'll tell you." He said he was leaving the room. After Izuku fell unconscious, they placed him in a sleeping bag. After a while, the girls saw his wounds close, but Itsuki had gotten hungry, so they ordered dinner. While they were eating, the girls were curious about Izuku eating quietly while Futaro ate calmly. "Nino, what is he?" "Futaro, what? Nino, what the hell is that? Nobody can do that. It's an experiment." Futaro shouted angrily. She was going to answer, but Izuku, "Yes, that's what I am," he said, calling the attention of the quintuplets. At that moment Futaro threw an apple at him. "Thank you," while eating the apple. "Ikika, how?" Izuku, "Well," he said, "to sit down. Where do I begin?" He paused for a few seconds before sighing. "Okay, I'm going to tell you a story," she said, prompting the quintuplets to nod. Izuku, in a world where 80% of the population has a quirk. Quintuplets quirk. Izuku, a power or ability like superheroes, she said, so the quintuplets nodded. Being a hero is like a job, but 20% of the population are quirkless. They might say they're normal people, but people with quirks treat them like trash, the worst of humanity. Yotsuba, and what does that have to do with anything? I asked, confused. Miku, you come from there. Izuku, and Itsuki, that explains your quirk. Izuku denies it, but you're part of the 80%, right? Izuku, well, I'm actually quirkles, she said, surprising the quintuplets. My real name is Izuku Midoriya, he said her name with hatred. Nino, why do you hate your? But I didn't finish because Futaro signaled for silence. Izuku, at the age of 4, powers awaken, but at that age I was told I didn't have any, thus shattering my dream of being a hero. I thought my family would support me, but they didn't. They abandoned me to my fate, giving me no attention to give to my sister. I would have accepted it, she said, as a tear escaped her eye, if she and my so-called best friend hadn't tortured me for 4 years. Beatings, explosions, and burns were what I received every day, while being ignored by my parents. She told the story while the girls held back their tears. But when I was almost 9 years old, my parents didn't want me under their roof anymore, so they sold me to a damn mafia. From that day on, I had been their lab rat, to be the perfect weapon, he said, clenching his fists. At first they injected me with something, saying it was to cure my cancer from the nitroglycerin that entered my lungs, he said, shocking the Nakano. After that, every day I felt cuts on my body. I think months passed, and then I could see that I was starting to regenerate faster, so they started cutting my fingers. She said, shocking the girls. Then they took my arms until one day they cut off my head. I thought I had died, but I regenerated. She said while the girls were horrified. Then time passed, and they made me fight guys to gain experience, but one day I escaped from those bastards because they were having a meeting with the Yakuza. I took advantage of the situation with some things. I managed to steal and escape. When I got out, I saw a parrot carrying a little girl with several bandages, so I decided to save her and leave her a gift by cutting off her hands. When I left the little girl at a hero academy. That was the day I saw the sun after 5 years. She said as tears welled up in her green eyes, at which point Miku stood up and hugged him. Miku, vent your feelings, she whispered tenderly in his ear as she hugged him. Izuku cried for a few minutes, releasing all his suffering, while the other girls wiped away their tears. Ikika, Izuku calling their attention, have you killed someone? Izuku solo sigh, unfortunately. Yes, he said, surprising the Nakano. They've always been drug traffickers, rapists, or villains who kill for pleasure. I've never killed women or children, but I understand if they don't want to see me anymore. Ikika, no, but you're the hero, Deadpool, she said, surprising her sisters. Nino, who is that? Ikika, he is a hero who has taken down dangerous mafias and provided valuable information to the police to help them eliminate mafias and terrorist groups. Izuku, yes, it's me, he said, letting go of Miku, but then Itsuki approached him. Itsuki, can I have your autograph? She said excitedly while Izuku had a drop of sweat on his brow. Miku, Izuku, and Miku, if you're from that world, how did you get here? He said doubtfully. Izuku, well, the government hired me to provide information on the League of Villains, led by the #1 villain, but when I acted like a jerk, I was used as an experiment for another quirk, so here I am. Nino okay Izuku, or we'll fire you like someone else, he said, glancing surreptitiously at Futaro. Because I wouldn't want to deal with another personal bodyguard, she said, to the surprise of her sisters. Besides, I'm sorry about what happened earlier. Izuku, don't worry. After that, they talked for a while before going to some hot springs outside. After the girls decided how they were going to sleep, the boys decided to get the same hairstyle so they wouldn't be recognized. When they entered the room, they saw Futaro asleep in a sleeping bag and Izuku asleep in the bathtub with a blanket, making the girls feel embarrassed before they went to sleep. The next morning, Izuku was the first to wake up and got out of the tub to go to the cafeteria. What he didn't notice was that Miku saw him leave, so they had breakfast together. While they were eating, a girl with short pink hair was watching Futaro closely as he slept. She was spotted by a redhead with stars in her hair from the doorway. Then she came out so her teachers could see her. After realizing their groups were staying at the same place, they left in their respective buses. While Itsuki was thinking about Futaro, Izuku was nodding off at the window, half asleep. And Futaro, well, he's Futaro. Back at the camp, Yotsuba and Izuku were having a wood chopping competition, trying to avoid being stalked by their classmates. Aikika was carrying things, Itsuki was exaggerating, carefully watching the timing of her meal. Miku was adding something to her pot, much to the concern of her classmates. Nino was organizing her group because they had burned the rice, while Futaro and Maid were having a conversation about Izuku. Just then, Yotsuba and Izuku walked past, carrying boxes, and Izuku's box had some green patches on it. Yotsuba Uesugi calling their attention. We'll move the items for the valor test. Futaro, Yotsuba, weren't you in charge of the campfire? Yotsuba, yes, I thought you could use some help. You left the world of studies to come here, so I want to give you my support. Futaro, listen, Maeda, watch my food, he said as he stood up. Maeda, hey, don't give me orders. Besides, aren't you going to listen to me? Futaro, the value test is optional, she said while helping Yotsuba invite a girl from the class, but we'll all go, especially Izuku, so don't chicken out. The night was illuminated by the moon in the forest of the camp. Someone could be seen standing, but their eyes were glowing. Follow, I think we're going to kill them, he said, disguised, looking at Yotsuba. Yotsuba, I think Izuku got emotional. Izuku, leave me alone. Opening time, he thought the last thing. A couple could be seen, read, these being Maeda and a girl whose conversation the author was too lazy to write, were walking through the forest until Futaro and Yotsuba came out of some bushes, disguised, Futaro as a clown and Yotsuba as a mummy. At that moment the couple ran away only to bump into a shadow, startling them. Then the shadow approached, causing the girl to faint so that Maeda can pick her up and run away. Yotsuba, we're doing great, I'm glad to see some life in your eyes, referring to Futaro. Futaro, yes, I'm glad to be back alive. Izuku, hey, that would be a good line for my character, he said without his helmet on. Okay, I'm going to get ready, he said to get lost in the trees. When Izuku left, Yotsuba knelt down to draw a picture in the dirt, catching Futaro's attention. Yotsuba, I thought maybe you wouldn't come, glancing sideways at Futaro. Futaro, oh, Yotsuba, try to leave the camp without regrets, he said laughing at the end. Izuku, a little romantic, he thought about leaving. Just then, the next group passed by with their phones and flashlights on. Futaro and Yotsuba came out to scare them away, but it had the opposite effect. Miku, Futaro, Aikika, why Yotsuba? Futaro, so it was you guys, you already know the drill, we shouldn't have bothered, she said while making a sign with her hand without the girls noticing. Aikika, oh no, what a scare, he said with his hands raised. For liar. Aikika, it's true. Then someone touched his shoulder. That he said this so that she and Miku would turn to look at Izuku. Aikika, why Miku? Ah, they shouted to get behind Futaro and Yotsuba. Futaro and Yotsuba laughed as Izuku took off his mask, also laughing. Aikika, when did you leave? Izuku, I'm sorry. Miku, you're bad. Izuku, sorry Miku, he said while pinching her cheek, making her blush. Okay girls, be careful, there's a ravine ahead, so follow the signs. Aikika, why Miku understood. They said they were leaving. Yotsuba, by the way, Uesugi, you still hesitate when performing your scares, you need to put more effort into it, he said, looking at Futaro. Meanwhile, In the forest, Nino was walking, being held by a frightened Itsuki. As they walked, Nino said something that ruled her out as being one of those with Futaro. Then, Futaro hung from a tree, saying, "Study." Startling the two girls, Itsuki ran away in fear, followed by Nino. "Yotsuba, I think we went too far," he said, emerging from behind a tree. "Izuku, do you think so?" he said, leaving too. Futaro, which way did they take? Seeing where the girls went. Meanwhile, Miku and Aikika were talking about what happened the day Miku pretended to be herself. Aikika then asked Miku how she felt about Izuku. Meanwhile, Futaro and Nino were going through the same thing as before. When they left the forest, they were already at the reception. Futaro was wondering if it was a good idea to dance with Nino in disguise. Then he went outside to see Yotsuba and Izuku with the things from the tests of courage. But Izuku's suit was black. Futaro, what happened to him? Pointing to Izuku's suit. "Izuku, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." Flashback. It could be seen how Izuku and Yotsuba had just scared another couple, but then Yotsuba noticed that smoke was coming from Izuku's hand. "Yotsuba, Izuku. Izuku and Yotsuba, Izuku," he said, pointing to his hand. At that moment, Izuku saw his hand burst into flames, frightening Yotsuba and Izuku, not for his health but because he had caused a forest fire. So Izuku lay down on the ground and rolled around while Yotsuba threw dirt on him. End of flashback. "Futaro, so you're telling me your quirk awakened after 10 years. He said, carrying a log with Izuku's help, as they were returning the favor to Yotsuba. "Izuku, exactly," he said as he made a small flame in his hand. Futaro, "Hey, be careful, you're going to burn it." Izuku, "Yes, sorry," he said, extinguishing the flame by closing his fist. Then Izuku was called to help with something while Futaro was being helped by Aikika. After a while, Aikika and Futaro were carrying the last log when Etsa asked him if he would have agreed to dance with her, saying he didn't know. After that, they hid because the author wanted them to, but then the door closed, trapping them inside the warehouse where Aikika and Futaro were. Izuku was walking when he heard knocks, but he heard Futaro and Aikika. Izuku, "Well, that's all for today." He was speaking in front of the warehouse door, ignoring what he had just heard. Futaro, "Izuku. Izuku, okay, writer. Put the ending on," he whispered, ignoring Futaro. While Aikika and Futaro were locked in the warehouse with two of the quintuplets. Miku, Aikika still hasn't returned. Itsuki, if upon leaving he said he had things to do with the campfire group. Just then Yotsuba came running. "Yotsuba, Miku, Itsuki," she said as she arrived with them. "Have they seen Uesugi?" she said, surprising them both. Itsuki, a Futaro. Miku, oh Izuku. Yotsuba, both of them disappeared while helping the campfire group, and they are neither in the cafeteria nor in their room, she said, pouting. At the end they went off again on their own. Miku, I'll take care of Izuku, he said to start looking for him. Yotsuba understood with a military salute, but then a key he was holding in his hand appeared. Itsuki, Yotsuba and that key. While Futaro and Aikika were still locked up with Izuku, he was sitting leaning against a tree near a road. "Izuku, that's why I suffered so much," he said as he saw a small flame in his hand. "That's why my family despised me." She said as tears streamed down her face. "But this is no time for regrets," she said, wiping away her tears. "I have to use this power for good." Dshe-san, determined, heard them calling him. Miku, Izuku. Itsuki, Aikika. Yotsuba, Futaro. Itsuki, those two for real, he said, recalling what he saw at the hotel. Miku, calm. Itsuki, Miku. Miku, we shouldn't worry. Yotsuba, I don't understand, but someone's coming, he said, pointing the way so that Izuku could be seen. Izuku. Izuku, they were looking for me. Miku, where were you? Izuku, I needed to be alone to think, she said, smiling. Itsuki, okay, I understand, but haven't you seen your brother and Aikika? Izuku, no. But I feel like I'm forgetting something. Yotsuba, then we have to find them. They continued searching until they heard a bang. Izuku, what to see? Miku, without being rude, he said he had already given Izuku a slap. Izuku lost, rubbing his head, but where was it heard? Yotsuba, from over there, he said, pointing to the warehouse. Then Itsuki and Yotsuba went to open the warehouse, finding Aikika and Futaro in a compromising position. Itsuki, Aikika, what are you doing here? They said nothing. Izuku, it's all over, I whisper to Miku. Miku and The next day was the last day of camp. Futaro was thinking about how the camp had gone from bad to worse. 𝙂𝙤𝙏 had gotten sick. He was talking with Itsuki and Miku, and Izuku was practicing for that night's dance around the campfire, since none of them had any experience. Futaro was going to rest, but Yotsuba took him out to ski. "Yotsuba, let's go down the whole slope," he said, holding his ski gear. "Futaro, I'm cold, let me sleep. Besides, I don't know how to ski. Yotsuba, sleeping is a waste of time, and if you can't ski, I'll take you by the hand." Futaro, "Okay, let's practice. By the way, what about the others?" "Izuku, we are here," he said, arriving next to Miku. Futaro, "Okay, and the other three?" "Yotsuba, 𝙂𝙏𝙏 is sick and Itsuki is taking care of her." Futaro, "After what happened, it doesn't surprise me, you should have looked more carefully before closing that door." Yotsuba, "What are you taking about?" he said with questions in his head. Futaro, "Besides, don't think I didn't hear you, Izuku." Izuku, "What are you taking about?" said the same as Yotsuba. Miku, "Did you really know they were there?" saying it only so that Izuku could hear. Izuku, "Maybe. Yotsuba and the child is already skiing." Izuku, "Then let's begin." Yotsuba, "Why Miku?" And so they started skiing, and Futaro was the worst. They were going downhill when a girl passed by Futaro, mocking him, and stopped in front of him. "Hi, it is cold, isn't it?" He already mentioned that he was wearing a mask and glasses that covered his face. Futaro, wait, who are you?" "It's me, 𝙂𝙏𝙏," he said, uncovering his face. Futaro, "Was that you?" drawing the attention of the others. Yotsuba, 𝙂𝙏𝙏 while greeting her. Futaro, "Are you really okay?" He told her to cough. Izuku, "It's a worse performance than the Rose of Guadalupe," thought he had come to 𝙂𝙏𝙏. "𝙂𝙏𝙏, I haven't fully recovered, but..." Futaro, "By the way, where's Itsuki? Wasn't she looking out for you?" 𝙂𝙏𝙏, "Itsuki skis because she prefers to avoid you." Yotsuba, 𝙂𝙏𝙏, "These two don't remember anything I taught them," referring to Miku and Futaro. Futaro, "Well, the same thing happens to me when I teach you." He said this to make Yotsuba and Izuku laugh. 𝙂𝙏𝙏, "What if we make it fun? Caught attention, let's play like Yotsuba is the best. She'll chase us," he said to start skiing. Yotsuba, "Good." Miku, "What about Nino and Itsuki?" Yotsuba, "I'll catch them as soon as I see them. 1, 2. At that moment, Miku started skiing while Futaro got nervous because he only knew how to move forward, but he was pushed by Izuku, making him go downhill. Yotsuba, "I'm coming." 9 or 10, he said to see Izuku. Izuku, "Why didn't you leave?" Izuku, "I'll give you a head start." Yotsuba, But then Izuku started skiing, followed by Yotsuba at full speed. Meanwhile, Futaro ran away from Nino, thinking he was his cousin, hiding in a snowdrift. Yotsuba was about to catch Izuku, but she suddenly stopped. Izuku turned to look behind him, not noticing the trap. When he turned forward, he saw the trap and tried to stop, but he couldn't. He cursed himself as he went flying, crashing into some cabins. Yotsuba, "Izuku," he said, so that he opens his eyes. Izuku but he was silenced by a hand, Miku's, noticing that he wasn't outside. He turned to look so she could signal him to be quiet. He just nodded. After a couple of minutes, Yotsuba was no longer heard. Izuku, "Where are we, Miku?" Miku, "We're inside an igloo that Yotsuba found and that saved us from." Izuku, "Yes, that's true, thank you for helping me," she said with a smile. Miku, "Izuku, can I ask you something?" Izuku, forward. Miku, "How can you still smile after everything you've been through?" Izuku, solo sigh, "If I had let myself be carried away by the past, perhaps not only would I have suffered, but others would have suffered because of me. I don't let my past affect me. Maybe I'd want to shoot my old family," he said, surprising Miku, "But it wouldn't just affect me, it would affect my family and you all. That's why I can smile thanks to you." He smiled and Miku hugged him, and he hugged her back. After a few minutes, they separated. Miku, "It's cold in here," he said, trembling slightly. Izuku, "I'll take care of it," he said, taking off his glove and lighting a small flame, surprising Miku. Miku, "That's Izuku CMI quirk original." Miku, "Who knows?" Izuku, "Futaro and Yotsuba know it." Miku, "And why didn't you tell me?" Making a pout. Izuku, "Sorry, I forgot." Miku, "And you'll tell the others?" Izuku, "Yes, at his house, I remember." "Well, Let the ending begin. He told the readers. Miku, who are you talking to? Izuku to no one by I whisper the last thing. It could be seen, read that Izuku and Miku were still in the igloo when Miku received a call from Ikika asking if they knew anything about Itsuki. They denied it, so she asked them if they were looking for her, and then they left, going to the cafeteria. Izuku, I thought you'd be here, he said, looking at the cafeteria. Miku, didn't be rude, Izuku, but I'm right. Miku and they said they were leaving the cafeteria, and as they passed by, they saw Futaro leaning against the wall, breathing heavily. Izuku, brother, are you okay? Futaro, yes, I think 𝙃𝙤 infected me and I passed it on to Ikika. I feel guilty, he thought the last thing. Miku, hey, you should go get some rest. Yotsuba, I found them. Miku and the boys, she said to go against Miku, causing both of them to fall from the car into the snow. Did they think they could escape me? Futaro, Yotsuba, Miku, I had forgotten, he said, lifting his face so the snow would fall on it. Yotsuba, I've already caught Ikika and Nino, said above Miku, all that's missing is Itsuki. Futaro, you haven't found it either. Izuku, you're looking for it too. Futaro, Ikika will take care of it if I can find her. Yotsuba, I haven't found it, he said, standing up to give a military salute. At that moment Nino and Ikika arrived. Nino, for heaven's sake, I'm looking for someone too. Izuku and I to the Yeti, he said as he helped Miku to her feet. Miku, Ikika, didn't I tell you to stay inside? He said as he brushed the snow off himself. Ikika, I'm sorry. Yotsuba caught me. She said, holding her hands together. Miku, okay. Go back to the cabin, Futaro and Ikika, he said, as he began to leave with the others. Futaro, Yotsuba, he said, calling for their attention. Did Itsuki escape like the others? Yotsuba, no, I simply haven't found it. Izuku, bye. Futaro, it may be worse than we think. Nino, what are you talking about? Miku, that this is lost, he said, looking at a map, while Izuku put away a weapon he always carried with him. Izuku, a cautious man, is worth two, he thought. Futaro, it's strange that none of us have seen her after all the traveling we've done. Ikika, you're exaggerating. Miku, I still can't get in touch with her. Ikiyaka, are you sure she went skiing? Ikika, SC. Yotsuba, I don't think I've been here before, he said, pointing to a part of the map. Nino, isn't this the route the teacher told us about? He said we couldn't go because it was in very bad condition. I'll see if he's back, he said, to begin to leave. Yotsuba, I'll go tell a teacher. It burns, don't rush things, let's keep looking for her. Nino, because, he said, turning around, she may even need to be rescued. Miku, Ikika, she didn't want us to make a mountain out of a molehill. At that moment, Futaro noticed something while Izuku was looking at something on his phone. Nino, I can't believe it. How can you say that? Itsuki's life may be at stake. We can't just stand idly by. Ikika, I'm sorry. Where are you, Itsuki? She thought about it and stumbled. Miku, hey. Go get some rest, Futaro. Yotsuba, Uesugi. Meanwhile, Futaro was thinking about where Itsuki was while the girls were talking to him until the revelation came to him. Nino, enough. Futaro, wait. Zero, I know where it is. Miku, Futaro. Nino, are you serious? Futaro, don't worry, I'll find her. Nino, I can trust you, right? Futaro, of course. Ikika, come with me, surprising her. At that moment, Fuetro and Ikika went to the TV chairs while the others went to the cafeterias, while Izuku looked to confirm on his phone. Miku, what kind of tactic are you using, Izuku? I asked curiously. Izuku, as their bodyguard, I need to know their location. Nino, so you're spying on us. Izuku, not only its location. Miku, and where is Itsuki? Izuku, Mira, he said, showing her where 2 points were going, one that said Futaro and another that Itsuki dedicated, while Ikika's point was shown in the cabins. Later, Futaro was taken by a teacher with rabbit teeth to rest while Izuku went to get his things. Some of the girls wanted to stay with him, but he wanted to be alone, so the teacher closed off the room. Then he called Nino to talk to her while the others were sad about how the camp ended for Futaro. That night, the campfire was already lit while several students talked, and others invited others to dance. Nino remembered how she had been rejected. Then she left, saying she was going to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Maeda managed to find a partner, Ikiak. She was sitting on some stairs with a blanket when someone hit her cheek with a can, surprising her to see Miku next to Izuku. Miku take offering him a can. You need to drink plenty of fluids. 𝙂𝙤𝙧𝙃 thank you. He told her to grab the can while Miku and Izuku sat down. Do they also have hot green tea soda? At that moment, Miku put her forehead against hers, surprising her. Miku, you no longer have a fever. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 I wonder if I was the one who infected him. Miku, he was acting strange from the beginning. Izuku, he's already weird, she said, making the sisters laugh. But I think he got sick after he came. Miku, shouldn't you pay more attention to it? Izuku, you think I'm not his babysitter. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 hey, calling their attention. Do you have a partner? Miku, well, we're going to dance together. She said, blushing. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 oh, Miku, and do you have a partner? 𝙂𝙤𝙧 just shook her head. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 I would have liked to dance with 𝙂𝙗ℎ, he thought. Oh, con Izuku. Miku, I can no longer hide this feeling I have from him before it's too late. Looked out of the corner of my eye at Izuku, who was staring at the campfire. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 calling their attention. I like Izuku, he said just so she could hear, surprising Harry. Wasn't sure how I would be treated, given that we were different. 𝙂𝙤𝙧 don't worry, I support you. I think he's the one I've spent the most time with, although I would have liked to be me. Then he opened the can that Miku gave him and started drinking it. It's incredibly bad, depressing Miku. Miku, oh really? 𝙂𝙤𝙧 but it's doing me good, thank you. Well, see you later, I think it's about to start, he said, beginning to leave. Miku and, meanwhile, Yotsuba and 𝙂𝙧𝙧 were where the boys were staying, since Izuku had forgotten something of 𝙂𝙗ℎ's. Seeing that it was the guide where he had written down stories for Reiha, they wondered if he had enjoyed himself. Izuku and Miku began to dance, becoming the envy of both girls and boys, while others were surprised by the couple. As they danced, Miku rested her head on Izuku's chest, since he was a little taller than her. 𝙂𝙗ℎ was asleep while his teacher watched over him. Then he was called to help finish the campfire. When he went outside, Itsuki was sitting in a corner, scared she'd be caught. So he went to the light switch to turn it on, finding his 3 other sisters there. Yotsuba, they came too. Itsuki, keep silent. Nino, what are you doing here? 𝙂𝙧𝙧, what are you doing here? Nino, well, I just wanted to lend you my good luck charm, he said, showing it and looking away. Open, I came because I was worried. Yotsuba, who is it? 𝙂𝙧𝙧, she's dancing with Izuku. Yotsuba, I'm happy for her, but I think we feel the same way. Nino, I already told them no. 𝙂𝙧𝙧, don't lie to me, Itsuki said, approaching where 𝙂𝙗ℎ was lying down. Itsuki, we all want you to get better. I don't know you very well yet. Being seen by his sisters, so when you wake up, could you tell me more about yourself? Taking 𝙂𝙗ℎ's hand, he said while the bonfire was about to end, counting down and stopping the dancing. When it reached 0, sparks flew, thus ending the bonfire. A grown-up Reiha can be seen cooking while the wedding song plays. Suddenly, her phone rings, revealing she's forgotten her ring. Her father laughs, comparing her to him, which angers Reiha. He says she'll end up with someone like her brother Izuku, making 𝙂𝙤𝙪 angry. Reiha sighs, remembering her brother's constant focus on studies, which her father defends, but she still worries about how good a husband he'll be. 𝙂𝙤𝙪 notices the small amount of food and asks Reiha why. Reiha tells her there will be a banquet at the wedding. Afterward, Reiha goes to a hall that resembles a castle. She walks around, admiring the bride's dresses and the bride herself. She finds her brother asleep, initially thinking he's not interested, but then notices he's wearing the bracelet she made for him years ago to congratulate him on his wedding. Let the groom come in, he was saying so that 𝙂𝙗ℎ could pass among the guests in white suits. Understand, Uesugi, Maeda, hello, congratulations, said his wife, whose name I don't know. Maeda, it's me, have you already forgotten me? He said this to make 𝙂𝙗ℎ stop. 𝙂𝙗ℎ, of course not. Maeda, right. Mr. and Mrs. Maeda, he said. Seeing that Maeda's wife was pregnant, he continued walking. Maeda, nothing has changed. Well, no, said his wife. Maeda, but he's our Cupid. The legend of the bonfire, huh? He said, taking Maeda's hand. What memories? Maeda, why yes, and did you know? Apparently they did too. Then 𝙂𝙗ℎ arrived at the altar. 𝙂𝙗ℎ, to tell the truth, I don't remember very well what happened. The camp was a disaster, but strangely enough, I don't have any bad memories of it thought. Now the bride. Did the priest. The doors opened, revealing a girl with red, pink, hair in a wedding dress. 𝙂𝙁, the legend of the campfire, I thought as the bride walked down the aisle, those who hold hands at the end are destined to be together forever. Then 𝙂𝙁 saw his family and Izuku carrying a baby. Perhaps it's thanks to them that even the bad memories fade. At that moment, the girlfriend arrived so that 𝙂𝙁 could take her hand. They are happy for me. The bonfire was blazing, visible to all the students. Izuku and Miku were holding hands with 𝙂𝙁, who was being held by the fingers of each of the quintuplets. They started talking, and then 𝙂𝙁 woke up, furious, and chased them away as they laughed. 𝙂𝙁, I think I can finally say, removing the bride's veil, that which I couldn't do that time. Thank you for being by my side. 𝙂𝙁 could be seen reading while Izuku played with a ball. Guys, they called them. 𝙂𝙁 girls. Nakano's good morning. Izuku good morning. 𝙂𝙁 hello. Ikika, are you feeling better now? 𝙂𝙁, if I have to recall the time I was hospitalized, she said, raising her arm, revealing a bracelet. Nino, I'll leave it with you for a little while longer, she said as Itsuki took out something to eat. 𝙂𝙁, did you say something? Nino, Itsuki, stop eating nothing, watching her. Itsuki, yes, I always get hungry in the mornings. Did he say so he could continue eating his bread roll? Ikika, to celebrate 𝙂𝙁's recovery, let's go to the creperie. 𝙂𝙁, not to study, she said, making Ikika laugh nervously. Miku, there's no other way, is there? Izuku, if they want another tutor, no. Yotsuba, let's study together. Let's go all out. Nino, hey, who said that? Miku, good luck with another tutor. Nino, I never said no, with arms crossed. Itsuki Uesugi calling their attention, let's keep rowing together. 𝙂𝙁, the end is near, so I won't give them any respite. Izuku, he's already excited. Itsuki nervous, just like 3 of her sisters. 𝙂𝙁, they'd better be prepared. Run away. They said to escape. Izuku, sometimes I think you're the oldest, seeing Miku, who was the only one who didn't run away. Miku, me too, she said, watching her sisters leave. After the camp, 𝙂𝙁 had to be admitted to the hospital. In his room, 𝙂𝙁 was reviewing some tests while Izuku kept him company. However, Izuku was extremely tired because he had a mission at 6 a.m. and had barely slept. Then Nino entered, completely ignoring Izuku, who was asleep. 𝙂𝙁 was surprised by Nino's visit, and they had a brief argument about the hospital expenses. Then Nino went and hid. Yotsuba entered, greeting 𝙂𝙁, and then started looking for Nino. Ikika and Miku also entered and greeted 𝙂𝙁. While Ikika was talking to 𝙂𝙁, Miku approached Izuku with a mischievous smile and took a marker from her backpack to start drawing on his face. After Yotsuba found Nino, they left, but before leaving, Miku kissed Izuku on the forehead before departing, blushing. In the examination room, the brothers were waiting, as was 𝙂𝙁. I'll discharge you tomorrow, right, Uesugi? A male voice said, referring to a doctor. 𝙂𝙁, and he told the man who had his back turned. Are you worried about your studies? 𝙂𝙁, something like that. I know I'll be fine, but there are some silly girls I have to instruct. Izuku yawned, he never knows how to choose his words carefully. Then he saw the doctor stop typing on his laptop. Why did it stop unless it was? I see, the checkup is finished. The doctor said. At that moment, 𝙂𝙁 heard the quintuplets thanking him for visiting, but then they said they had come to get vaccinated while Miku held back her laughter at Izuku, making 𝙂𝙁 angry. So, shouting for a nurse to take him to his room, as they passed by a ward, the brothers heard the doctor who had treated them say that he expected a lot from them, which confused 𝙂𝙁 and gave Izuku a chill. Once in the room, Izuku told 𝙂𝙁 that if he needed anything, he would wake him up, but only if it was important. Iin then lay down with headphones on the couch in the room, and 𝙂𝙁 did the same on his bed. After a while, dreaming or remembering, he got up to turn to his right and saw the girl from his picture, but it was actually Itsuki. After that, Itsuki asked him why he was studying. Iin then started to tell her about the trip to Kyoto, cutting her off halfway through, which made Itsuki complain. They talked like that while 𝙂𝙁 remembered. Then Itsuki took out her lucky charm, and 𝙂𝙁 remembered that the girl from 5 years ago had bought one just like it. They fell silent, but then the others. The quintuplets arrived to take Itsuki away while 𝙂𝙁 was left thinking, while Izuku held back his laughter. A few days later, Futaro was trying to figure out which of the quintuplets had torn up the name tags on the exams they failed with a 0, but there was only one with a name tag, which was Miku's, much to the surprise of Futaro and his sisters, since she took her exam out of her backpack, barely passing, but leaving the quintuplets aside. Should we focus on Izuku, who was walking towards a cathedral? Izuku, here it is, he said, looking at the cathedral. Then he decided to go inside. As he entered, he looked around, seeing paintings hanging on the walls, but then, "What are you doing here, boy?" a male voice said. "Izuku, you are the great swordsman 𝙁𝙁," he said, turning around to look at him. "𝙁𝙁, you're correct," he said, taking a sip of wine. "𝙁𝙁, and what do you need here, boy?" So Izuku knelt down. "Izuku, I came to ask if I could train with the sword," he said with his head on the ground. "𝙁𝙁, why, boy, has the art of swordsmanship been lost over the years?" "Izuku, I'm not sure, but a great evil is approaching, and as a hero, I must be prepared." "𝙁𝙁, so you're that Deadpool guy?" "Izuku, yes sir." "Maka, tell me, guys, what is your sword to you?" "Izuku, at first it was just a weapon to kill, but over time I realized that more than a weapon, it is a teaching tool that helps us learn how to improve in this art," he said, looking at his sword. "𝙁𝙁, kid, get ready, your training starts tomorrow." In a laboratory, a doctor could be seen working on a machine. "Are you sure it will work, doctor?" said a young voice. "Doctor, don't worry, Dobby. Like, and how long will it take?" "Doctor, in a few days." "Like, and what are you going to try it with?" "Dr. 𝙁𝙤," he said, looking at a sleeping Nomu. One morning, Izuku takes his katanas and a backpack with clothes to leave home, seeing his brother Futaro riding, which makes Izuku sigh and go train with 𝙁𝙁. So a few days passed, and Izuku spent his days and nights improving his swordsmanship while talking to Miku, since he hadn't been coming to school. He told her he'd asked for a week off to work on something. Meanwhile, things were going from bad to worse with Futaro and the quintuplets. First, Nino and Itsuki had a fight, and Itsuki ended up staying at the Usugi's house. Nino didn't want to see anyone, while Aikika had a job, and Yotsuba had rejoined the basketball club. And all this before the final exams. Meanwhile, Miku was the only one who was even half-heartedly studying. Meanwhile, Futaro, trying to convince Nino, ended up telling her how he saw the girl from Kyoto again, making her sentimental. After that, he returned home knowing that Itsuki was still there while the other quintuplets continued studying. Well, the same thing happened here as in the anime from episode 2 to 4 of season 2, because these episodes focus more on Futaro, Nino, and Itsuki. "Itsuki, this is terrible. Aikika, is this the result of so much studying?" she said, looking at her grades, since she had each failed 1 or 2 subjects, with Miku being the only one who passed them all. "Nino, it seems we are stupid." "Miku, say it for yourself," he thought, seeing that he didn't fail. "Yotsuba, cheer up, kid." "Nino, worry but for you. Aikika, and today's a study day, right? I imagine we'll be reviewing the final exams." He said this so that the doorbell would ring, surprising them. "Itsuki, speaking of the devil," he said, going to open the door. "Aikika, Futaro is going to scold us." "Yotsuba, I already know." "Nino, why do they look so happy?" she said, looking at her sisters, that Miku was going to show her her grades. "Oh, I understand." "Yotsuba, the result was a shame, except for Miku, but it means we can continue studying together." "Itsuki, she said, drawing her sister's attention. "No era Uesugi. Sighs, with your permission." "Aikika, but it's Ibata." "Miku, don't you drive for dad." "Sighs, today I came as your temporary tutor." "Yotsuba, really? Aikika, Ibata used to be a teacher, didn't he?" "Nino, did I miss work?" "Miku, perhaps he got sick. They said so that Ibata would cough." Sighs, the young Uesugi resigned as his tutor. Quintuplets Sighs, his father told me not long ago that the contract with Uesugi would end on the day of the exam. "Aikika, does that mean Futaro won't be coming anymore?" "Miku, Izuku too," she said, her eyes glistening with tears. Sighs, young Izuku will return after his days off, he said, to Miku's relief, that he didn't show it because of his sisters. "Nino, it's because we did badly," he said, clenching his fists. "Dad said that." Sighs, I don't think that's the case. "Nino, 𝙙𝙬 I was told that 𝙂𝙤 resigned of his own accord. Yotsuba on your own. Miku why would I do that? 𝙂𝙤 well, that doesn't satisfy me. I'll have him come so I can ask him. He said while dialing on his phone. 𝙙𝙬 I don't think he'll be able to. 𝙂𝙤 is forbidden from entering this building, it's on his father's orders. 𝙂𝙤 why would I do such a thing? Miku I'll go ask Izuku. She said she was about to get up and leave, but 𝙂𝙤 stopped her. Jama pass the 𝙂𝙤. 𝙙𝙬 I can't making Miku pout even if it's temporary. I was entrusted to be their tutor. I can't let them leave without learning at least a little, so that the humans start studying. Nino we can leave when we're finished, right? 𝙙𝙬 if they are free to do so. 𝙂𝙤 the questions are too easy, he'll surely take pity on us. Nino yes, but it would surely have cost us more in the past. It's strange how easy they are. I hate doing it, but it's thanks to him. After that, hours passed, and when they were almost finished, they decided to pull out some trap papers that Futaro had given them, in which he said goodbye to them. After that, the girls went to look for him, finding him dressed as Santa, and in the end, they reconciled, and he told her where they would live. Darkness was all he could see. Then Izuku opened his eyes to see two white-haired figures, one standing and the other kneeling. They were talking, but he couldn't hear anything. After that, everything disappeared, and 9 shadows appeared. So my brother duplicated this power without noticing, said the previous white-haired man. Izuku. He wanted to speak but he couldn't. This power is great, he said, looking at his hand, but he trusted that he would use it well. He said this so that 2 other shadows could extend their hands beside him. Then Izuku, breathing heavily, saw green rays emanating from his body, a black substance forming in his grimaces, and a wisp of smoke. Izuku what the hell? Okay, another short chapter, but I watched 3 episodes of the quintessential quintuplets and I didn't know how to include Izuku because I didn't want him to just do the same thing as the original protagonist, hence the short chapter. Sorry, Izuku, but I'm barely in the episode. Author shut up and start training, you'll need it. Izuku so that in the end he defeats the enemy with a power-up pulled out of thin air. Author I don't know what you're talking about. Looking away, you'd better go train. Izuku jodied, he said, to go to hell. On the streets of Japan, a limousine could be seen being driven by the quintuplets, new guardian, 𝙂𝙤, who was taking Mr. Nakano. He was remembering what Futaro had told him before resigning. Well, you really outdid yourself this time, 𝙂𝙤, but I won't hand any of my daughters over to someone like you. Izuku was training until he stopped. Mihawk what's up, kid? Izuku because I feel like hitting Futaro. He thought nothing, no, it shouldn't be anything. Well dear reader, play the new opening, he told them mentally as he started throwing punches. Futaro and Reiha were in a park watching oracles when Izuku worse luck, he said, reading the oracle of Futaro. Futaro ha I scream at Izuku's appearance and where are you? He said, giving him a whack on the head. Izuku I've barely arrived and this is how you greet me. Said in chibi form well, I was going to go straight home, but Reiha told me they weren't here. Futaro and you didn't tell me, he said, looking at Reiha. Reiha you didn't ask, then Reiha saw someone Yotsuba if it's the boys and Reiha. Nino what are you doing here? Pointing at the boys. Izuku I just arrived, whisper. Yotsubado you want to come to our house? Futaro it is. Reiha and, at the house of the quintuplets. I love you too, he said to kiss. 𝙂𝙤 they kissed, she said while watching a television program with her sisters. Nino how romantic. Futaro. Why were we invited? He whispered. 𝙂𝙤 come on, it's New Year's, relax. Then Miku appears. Miku hey guys, Happy New Year. I made a New Year's dish, do you want some? Izuku I brought something to eat, she said. She was going to look in her backpack and, finding nothing, she turned to look at the sisters and saw that 𝙂𝙤 was hiding a package. Okay, I'll accept it. Futaro, how can they eat that? Right, they have regeneration, she thought, but then Reiha looked a little confused and nervous. Yotsuba hey, what's wrong with you, Reiha? Reiha it is. Izuku you didn't live in a penthouse. He said, eating Miku's food. Reiha if I thought they were richer. Yotsuba, well, some things happened, she said nervously at the end. 𝙂𝙤 sorry for not offering you more. Nino we must return the kimonos to the landlord. 𝙂𝙤 even so, make yourselves at home. Reiha and at that moment, Izuku turned to look at Futaro. Futaro that. Izuku tell me later. Futaro are you sure they'll be okay? Sitting on the floor. Nino why are you sitting over there? Aren't you cold? Lifting a sheet. Then al kotatsu. Futaro and Reiha 𝙂𝙂𝙏𝙪𝙥𝙤𝙪𝙣 𝙃𝙤𝙪𝙪 don't be shy. Behind Futaro I'll give you a massage, you must be tired. Futaro I don't feel well. He said, sweating nervously. Then 4 of the sisters started giving Futaro a massage. Izuku what's wrong with them? Whisper to Miku. Miku have an idea he said with a drop of sweat on his brow because of his sister's behavior, then turned to look at Reiha who was praying. And your sister? He said, pointing at Reiha. Izuku we've already lost them while continuing to eat. Then the 4 of them started saying meaningless compliments and offering things to Futaro. 𝙂𝙂𝙧𝙃 go to the next room. She said this so that the 4 of them could drag Miku along, who was wearing a chibi face, slamming the door. Izuku what just happened? Futaro what the hell are they up to? He said to bite into a piece of bread. The quintuplets were gathered in a circle on their knees. Nino what do we do? Miku what am I doing here? Whisper. Nino I don't think he'll mind. Yotsuba but I would feel bad for him if we asked him to teach us for free. 𝙂𝙂 we have no choice if we want to depend on dad. Itsuki and what could we do for him? At that moment, the 3 sisters thought about giving Futaro a kiss, while Yotsuba thought about a #1 prize, and Miku kept wondering what she was doing there. Itsuki how obscene. Nino we think the same, don't we? 𝙂𝙂 haha I don't think that will make Futaro happy. Nino who knows, he's still a boy. You're an actress, aren't you? Give him one on the cheek. 𝙂𝙂 what do you think actors do? Even worse, if we're going to do something like that, what about you, Miku? Miku no. 𝙂𝙂 is it Izuku? At that moment, Miku became lost in a fantasy about Izuku. Miku no. Izuku, stop. I told you to stop. Nino stop it. Yotsuba hey, what are you talking about? Itsuki what if we cook him something? You're good at that, kid, you could give him sweets. Then Nino remembers something. Nino I can't adjusting her harem just getting over it. Itsuki 𝙂𝙂 so, should we tell him what's going on? At that moment, 𝙂𝙂 was the first to come out, coming face to face with Futaro. She saw him and thought she was going to kiss him, but instead, he was playing a game the sisters had created, while Izuku was playing with a knife, running it between his fingers at top speed. Yotsuba they were playing she said to pass by one side and 𝙂𝙂 fell, being held up by Itsuki and Miku. Reiha although we changed the rules. Futaro Yotsuba, what do you think? Yotsuba let's see. Then he sees Futaro's cheek uesugi, you have cream on your face to eat it up like it was a kiss. Everyone was surprised, even Izuku, who stopped the knife in his hand. Reiha brother, Yotsuba, Izuku what? I screamed from the surprise and because the knife got stuck in my arm. Yotsuba let's pretend it's the payment for teaching us. She said, blushing and with her hand over her mouth. Izuku if that was when they weren't even dating, I can imagine what it was like as boyfriend and girlfriend she thought, bandaging her hand with a first aid kit that Miku passed her so as not to get blood on it. At that moment, Yotsuba sensed the terrified aura of 3 of her sisters, their lives in danger, while Futaro remained confused. Futaro my payment, he said with one hand where Yotsuba kissed him. Itsuki you see, we are not in a position to compensate you adequately. Futaro they should have said so sooner. Getting up I'm doing it because I want to, don't worry about the payment. Itsuki uesugi, Futaro I'll get paid when they're successful he said this so his brothers would face palm. But I want it, then he got hit by Izuku why is that? Izuku you were about to start with your mom, she also got hit by Miku for that. Miku no profanity he told her while he was rubbing himself. For well, now that you're all gathered together, you'll do your homework. Itsuki our task, making Izuku nervous. Nino you underestimate us, we've already done our homework. Izuku it's all over, gentlemen, there's no escape. He said, running, followed by Reiha. Nino don't make fun of me. Futaro well, in that case it will be a regular study session. Reiha brother, I'm going home so I don't get in the way. For okay, go carefully, he received another blow from Izuku. Izuku instead of you going with her, I'll go with you, Reiha, before someone gets killed. he said, watching as Yotsuba tried to grab her katanas, but she felt Izuku's gaze and moved away. When Izuku left, the girls started studying, but Aikika fell asleep, bringing up the topic of work. They started talking about how they could work, and everything was going fairly well until Aikika, still asleep, started undressing and ran to Futaro. The next day the brothers could be seen working in a cafe, and you might wonder, is Izuku a mercenary? Yes, but there hasn't been any work because the crazy guy almost wiped out all the enemies there were and ever will be. Futaro, what do you think of my cake? It's identical to yours, boss. Give me my well-deserved raise. He said this while Izuku and his boss looked at the cake, since Izuku was the second chef. I don't think Futaro's boss's name is known, so I'll call him Toriumi, as seen in another fanfic. Thorium try it. She offered Futaro a piece of her cake, but when he tasted it, he was about to vomit. Futaro, she's still raw, I shouldn't make fun of Miku. While Izuku held back his laughter. Thorium, you still have a ways to go before you can enter the kitchen, he said as he walked. I almost forgot stopping Uesugi. You can go home now, he told Futaro, since Izuku called him Izuku. Futaro, am I fired? Thorium, today we close at noon. We rent the place for filming a movie, he said while giving a thumbs up. Futaro, you should have told me sooner. Good day, we are counting on you, a boy was saying from the doorway. Thorium, if the movie is a success, fans will come to the venue in droves. Izuku, that means more profits. Thorium, I will prepare decorations with the name of the cafeteria. Futaro, I wish I had that much ambition, he thought. Futaro was about to leave while Izuku went back to playing with a knife. Just as Futaro was about to leave, Aikika entered. They started arguing, and Aikika acted like a fool, but Izuku told the boss to leave without noticing Aikika. That same day, Nino and Yotsuba had asked Futaro to accompany them to the supermarket. When they left, they saw Itsuki talking to her father, so they decided to spy on them. Wealth, look, Itsuki, I'll pay the big visit and ignore her mistake, he said as Itsuki finished eating. Itsuki, Wealth, go back home right now, tell your sisters. Itsuki, does that include them? Wealth, are you talking about the Uesugi brothers? This is a family matter. He's just a third party, and to be frank, I don't like him, he said, surprising his daughters and making Futaro nervous. Itsuki, I can't go back yet, we're too involved with them to call them third parties. Maruo only sigh. I have no problem with Izuku, he said, surprising them, and a depressing aura appeared around Futaro. He already spoke to me, I know he's that hero, and Miku also told me she was in love with him. Surprising them with that information, so I told him it was his decision. I left him because they told me and didn't hide it from me, but with Futaro, let's do the following. I'll let him back into the residence and ask him to continue instructing them. Futaro, he said while standing apart, listening alongside Nino and Yotsuba. Wealth, but he will work alongside a professional tutor, he will act as an assistant. Itsuki, but we are working very hard. Wealth, I believe Miku's opinion. Why do you think she didn't oppose it? If she hadn't gone downhill instead of moving forward, that boy supports her. But do you think if Uesugi became her tutor again, Yotsuba could finally pass? Then a memory came back to Itsuki. Wealth, judging by their latest exams, Miku is the only one with a chance, and you have little hope. This angered Futaro, who almost went, but was stopped by Nino. When he turned to look at Yotsuba, she was no longer in her seat. Itsuki, it's true, we'll have more opportunities with two tutors. Yotsuba, we will surprising Itsuki. Itsuki, Yotsuba, the boys and the 5 of us can do it. I want all 7 of us to do it. Trust us, please. We won't make the same mistake. Wealth, and what if they fail? Making Yotsuba nervous. I preferred not to talk about this in public, but I've already arranged details with an acquaintance to receive them at the high school where he has financial influence. If they fail again, all 5 of them will change schools. Then he looks at Yotsuba. If you insist on doing it their way, they will have to accept the consequences. I hope they understand. Itsuki, I understand, surprising the others. Wealth, I expected nothing less from you, Itsuki. The conversation concluded. He said, getting up. Itsuki, no arresting his father, we accept changing schools if we fail. I'm sorry I'm not the nice, smart daughter you want me to be, but we won't drag Miku down with us if we fail. Wealth, A father has a duty to listen to his children's whims, he said, standing up, but he also has to scold them for their whims. I accept, and this is your last chance, he said to leave. In the distance, at an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, a green stain could be seen at the entrance. Deku-Page, so this is it, he said, looking at a device. This is where the energy overload came from. He said he was about to enter, but when he entered, seconds later he flew out and crashed into a tree. Deku-Pool he complained. Demons, he said, looking at the entrance. You are strong, said a monstrous voice, so that the dim moonlight illuminated the entrance. While Futaro and two sisters were spying on the conversation between the girl's father and Itsuki, Izuku had just been sent flying into a tree by a creature that emerged from an old factory. You are strong, said the creature. Deku-Page he complained about the blow when he got up. Good fight music. Deku-Page, was there no other author? Author why? Deku-Page, well, put another one on. This one always gets put in the history section where I am, he said, pointing at himself. Author okay, he said, looking to put another one on. Author better. Deku-Page put another one on, that's typical too. Author well, you put it on, and you signing you put on whatever the hell you want, he said, leaving. Deku-Page he got angry. At that moment, Deku drew his swords and set them ablaze to narrowly dodge a blow from the creature with his arms outstretched. He then took the opportunity to slash it, tearing off its right arm. You are strong, he said again as his arm regenerated. Deku-Page, damn it, that's all I needed, watching it regenerate. At that moment, the Nomu lunged at him, grabbing him and throwing him against some trees so that it would hit Izuku. However, Izuku suffered a cut to his chest that regenerated within seconds. He then began unleashing a barrage of slashes at the creature with his flaming swords, holding it back. But then the creature launched an attack with both arms, but Izuku used his swords to spin them like a whirlwind, severing the creature's arms and reducing them to ash. They regenerated, though each time more slowly, but a swift blow caused him to lose his katanas. Trying to recover, he saw the creature coming after him, so. Deku-Page, damn it, I'll use you, he said, and a layer of smoke began to rise. While the creature searched for him through the smoke, a barrage of blows rained down from all sides, courtesy of Izuku, who used the trees for support with his flaming arms, damaging the creature. But the creature dodged one of the blows, tearing off one of his arms. Deku-Page demons breathing heavily. I'm getting tired and my regeneration is being affected, watching as his arm slowly regenerated. He'll have to finish it now. Those black whips began to emerge from where the Nomu's arm had been, gripping and stopping it. At that moment, Izuku propelled himself forward